Whether you call it Kveik, Kvik, or Kvike, there's no denying that this unique Norwegian yeast has had a remarkable impact on the brewing scene, and Imperial Yeast's A43 Loki is one of the best versions out there. With the ability to produce a clean beer when fermented as warm as 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius, you heard that right, while also performing well at more standard ale temperatures, Imperial Yeast A43 Loki is as versatile as it gets, meaning you have zero excuses for failing to brew throughout the year. Learn more about A43 Loki at imperialyeast.com and grab a pouch for your next batch to see what all the fuss is about. Hey everybody, this is the Brewlosophy Podcast. I am your host, Marshall Schott, and we have got something fresh and fun planned for you today. A couple of years ago, some fans of Brewlosophy who share our love of the more nerdy, evaluative side of brewing and beer got together to form an online club, which they call the Brew Club. Things were going pretty good until COVID hit, which resulted in a bit of a slowdown due to the guys who started the club being forced, I think like all of us, to adapt to a changing world. Then about a year ago, some of the more active members decided they were ready to do what they could to make the Brew Club the best it could be. And since then, they've accomplished all kinds of really cool things. In addition to motivating members to perform their own experiments that get published at brewlosophy.com, the Brew Club hosts monthly meetings with incredible guests like Vinny Chilurzo from Russian River Brewing Company, as well as Chris Colby. The Facebook page, which is the primary destination of the Brew Club, has become quite active with people posting daily about their cool brewing experiments and such. Well, one of the coolest projects I think the Brew Club has introduced is what they call AvgBrü. This is something you can learn much more about by visiting the Brew Club Facebook page, which is linked in the description of this episode. But to put it simply, the Brew Club leadership determines a specific set of ingredients, malt, hops, and yeast, as well as other factors like target OG range, IBU, mash temp, and so on. Then members rely on that to design and brew their own recipes. One cool bonus so far is that the club has been able to partner with vendors to provide discounted or even free ingredients to some members. Another cool thing about the AvgBrü project is that my friends and I have agreed to review a handful of them from each round right here live on the show, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. Here in the studio, I'm joined by a couple of the sexiest beer reviewers I know, Tim Meisch and Justin Pretzer, as well as contributor Paul Amico. Are you guys as excited about this as I am?
This is going to be incredible.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
It's a brain trust like no other.
Who doesn't like drinking a whole handful of beers at noon on a Saturday afternoon?
For free.
For free, exactly. I mean, it was free for us.
I did have to clear my calendar.
Yeah, because we've got such booked calendars on Saturday afternoons at noon. Well, as I've said before, I am definitely a member of the Brew Club, but I'm not part of the leadership. So when they told me about AvgBrü, I was really excited and got even more stoked when they agreed to let us review some of the beers on the show. I think this is going to be really fun. All right, if you like what we're up to and you want us to keep doing it, please consider becoming a patron of Brewlosophy by committing to a small monthly pledge over at patreon.com/Brewlosophy. You'll receive rewards like access to unpublished recipes, unique discounts at YakimaValleyHops.com, and an invitation to a monthly live Q&A session with somebody in the brewing world. For May of 2022, our guest is the one and only Barry Chan from Seattle's Lucky Envelope Brewing. Now, I know some of you have likely never heard of Lucky Envelope, but please trust me when I say they know what the hell they're doing. Barry and I have been buddies for a few years, and he sent me some of the beers they make. I'm telling you, they are incredible. From IPA and stout to some of the crispest lagers out there, Barry brews it all, and he does it right. Plus, he's just an awesome dude. So if you want to be a part of this session, you have to make your pledge at patreon.com/Brewlosophy by May 20th, 2022, because Barry's going to be taking questions that Saturday, May 21st. All past sessions are stored on our private Facebook page, so patrons can go back and watch them whenever they like. Another really easy way to help us out is by using the links found at brewlosophy.com/support when you're shopping online. Your experience doesn't change at all, and we get a little kickback for the referral. Finally, if you wouldn't mind letting us know what you think about this show by leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcast or wherever it is you listen to podcasts, we'd really appreciate it. We are approaching that 1,000 review mark in Apple Podcasts, which is a big deal. So if you can help us get there, again, we'd really appreciate it. Feedback this week is brought to you by Brewers Hardware, who offer brewers beautiful stainless gear such as the turnkey BH15 Pilot Brewing System, which has a hard plumb manifold to eliminate all hosing changes during the brew process. Brewers Hardware has a ton of unique purpose-built products useful to both professionals and homebrewers. Go see for yourself at brewershardware.com, and don't forget to mention Brewlosophy at checkout to receive a free gift. That's brewershardware.com. Listener Josh Gonzalez is one of the many people who have written in with feedback on this particular topic, and I think this episode is perhaps the best one to address it on. Josh asks, what happened to the 1 minute beer review with Justin and Tim? Did I miss something? Did you guys do away with this? I really loved this segment and thought Justin did an excellent job taking over for Jersey. Well, first off, Josh, thank you for letting us know you enjoyed that segment. I trust the good majority of our listeners, though not all of them did, just as well. And no, you didn't miss anything, because I very intentionally not mentioned anything about it since we stopped running the reviews a couple months ago, in part because I wasn't exactly sure what we were going to do with it. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but a little bit of background on the 1 minute beer reviews. You've all heard the story of how it got started and then how we brought Justin in to replace Jersey, so I'm going to leave that alone. The way we get those reviews is by recording a bunch, up to 15 or so, in a single session, and then prior to each episode, I edit one of the reviews, which can take upwards of 45 minutes, and then I place it in the show. It's pretty simple. While I did require more time, or it did require more of my time to do that, the real problem has always been having enough reviews in the bank so that I never run out, which is tough when it requires three of us, all who work, have families, travel, etc., to have a few hours to sit down and drink a bunch of beer at the same time on the same day. Then on top of all of that, as we were getting to the end of our latest cache of recorded reviews a couple months back, Justin hit us with the news that, like Jersey last year, he was going to be moving out of state, which only further caused me to rethink what direction to take the whole beer review thing. Coincidentally, it was right around the same time I was chatting with the Brew Club about doing these intermittent AvgBrü review episodes. And given the massively positive feedback we've gotten on the past, quote, live review episodes, I decided that is the route we would take moving forward. So, just to be clear, we are still accepting beers from listeners for review. And if you've sent me something that has not gotten featured yet on the 1 minute beer review segment, I do apologize, but rest assured it will be featured in an upcoming review episode. Now, thankfully, for those of us who love you, Justin, your move has been delayed, for better or for worse on your part, I understand, which means you will be joining us for these live review sessions for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. This smooth, silky tone is not going anywhere. But yeah, our move back east kind of got upended. So, but we are here, and in light of the contract dispute that Tim and I had with Marshall, he made us an offer that we couldn't refuse, and we're still not making anything, but it's the beers are flowing,
and the hugs feel good.
The hugs feel good.
Yeah,
Marshall is a good hugger. It's I can't leave my boys.
That's right. We're so glad you can't, even though I know that it's a tough thing for you, but I know all of our listeners out there are going to be stoked about this. And it is a big change because the 1 minute beer review, I don't even know if you guys know this. We introduced that segment, I believe it was on the 8th episode of the Brewlosophy podcast. So it really was almost from the very beginning. And to ditch it does feel like we're kind of leaving our baby behind. But I think this new way of incorporating, it's growth, it's change. I think it's going to be, I know for me at least, and I can't speak for all you guys, Paul, you've been a part of some of these live review sessions before as well. Doing these is actually more fun than sitting in here and doing the just the reviews of single beers over and over, I think. So,
absolutely. Yeah. You get four buddies together drinking beers on an afternoon. What goes wrong?
Yeah. And people get to hear us talk about it.
Well,
so
what goes wrong during the review?
Well, it's really after the review, the limping out of here that makes it tough.
Tim falling asleep on my couch. Yeah.
Hey, wait.
That's why I rode my bike today.
Yeah, good for you, Paul. Well, I hope that clears things up for a bit. Like I said, I've been hearing from a bunch of people wondering what the hell happened to the 1 minute beer review. And while I too am sad to see it go, I really am excited for the direction we're going to be taking it. All right. Thanks again for the feedback, Josh, and everyone else who asked about the same thing. If you have show feedback, you can send it to feedback@brewlosophy.com or drop us a line on social media. We will be right back with AvgBrü reviews. Chilling work can be a chore, especially after a long brew day, but not with the Xchillerator Counterflow Chiller, which can chill a 5-gallon or 19-liter batch of wort in 5 minutes or less, leading to a strong cold break and clear wort in the fermenter. Brewlosophy's Matt Del Fiacco uses the Xchillerator Max and absolutely loves it. In addition to improved chilling efficiency, every Xchillerator comes with a 5-year warranty that covers the entire chiller for manufacturer defects. If you're looking to up your chilling game and a CFC is right for you, head over to Xchillerator.com today. There's no denying that stainless steel is the best material for brewing equipment, and Delta Brewing Systems offers some of the lowest prices on high-quality stainless gear, like the Firm Tank, which in addition to holding 8 gallons or 30 liters of wort, comes with a domed lid to even further reduce the chances of a messy blow-off. Plus, it can hold up to 4 psi of pressure for closed transfers. Delta Brewing Systems also has their own line of brew kettles, as well as one of the lowest-priced all-in-one electric brewing systems out there, and their prices are shockingly low. If you're in the market for legit stainless gear that won't break the bank, do yourself a favor and head over to deltabrewingsystems.com today. Craftmaster Growlers takes traveling with and sharing beer to a new level. Made from heavy-duty stainless steel, Craftmaster Growlers are double-wall insulated and can keep beer cold for up to 8 hours. Unlike typical growlers, Craftmaster Growlers come with a swiveling tap and fully integrated CO2 regulator cap, allowing beer to stay fresh for 2 weeks or more. The square design takes up less space and will fit in most refrigerator doors, and every Craftmaster Growler comes with a 1-year warranty. There are 64 and 128-ounce versions available over at craftmastergrowlers.com. After a long brew day, the last thing I want to do is waste more time chilling wort. I've tried so many different options, and ultimately I settled on the super efficient immersion chillers made by Jaded Brewing. With the King Cobra and Hydra, I'm able to chill my entire batch of wort from boiling to just a few degrees above groundwater temperature in as little as 6 minutes. If an immersion chiller is right for your brewery, then do yourself a favor and check out all of the rad options Jaded Brewing has to offer at jadedbrewing.com. And be sure to let them know Brewlosophy sent you. All right, fellas, I started receiving these AvgBrü beers a few weeks ago, and no joke, it has been very difficult for me not to dip into them, so I'm excited to finally get to do that with you guys. Now, all of the beers we're drinking today are from the very first AvgBrü, the parameters of which are as follows. First off, the style was BJCP 18B, which is American Pale Ale, a favorite of a lot of people. American Pale Ale, if you guys don't know, Justin, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Firestone Walker, one of my old favorites that they don't make anymore, is called Pale 31, a very common American style of beer. For the malts, the limitations, the parameters were they had to use Pale 2-row for their base malt, and then specialty malts, they could use whatever ratio they wanted of medium crystal, so in the 40 to 60 degree Lovibond range, and white wheat. And then alternate fermentables, meaning they didn't have to use them, but they could if they wanted to, are flaked oats. For hops, they had to bitter with Magnum. Mid-boil, so around the 30-minute mark or so, they had to use Cascade and Centennial, again, whatever amounts they wanted. And then for the late boil and flame out, Whirlpool or hop stand, basically the same thing. They had to use Cascade, Centennial, and Citra. And then for the dry hop, they had to use Citra and Cascade. So American Pale Ale, just to put it up front, doesn't need to be dry hopped, but this one, for the parameters of this AvgBrü, it had to be dry hopped with Citra and Cascade. For the yeast, they used Lallemand Bry 97 American West Coast Ale yeast, which shout out to Lallemand for providing that yeast for the brewers of this beer. They got it for free out of a sponsorship of the Brew Lab, which I think is really cool. Now, just to note again, members could use any water profile they wanted, which water makes a huge difference in the way a beer presents. I know, Tim, you know that very well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Paul actually does know that. As well as whatever amount of malt and hops they wanted to use, so long as the finished beer fit the prescribed parameters. Again, which are as follows. For mash temperature, it had to be anywhere between 152 and 153 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 67 C.
Oh, see. I'm used to 157 in my mash.
Yeah, here we go. Mash length had to be 60 minutes. They also had to boil for 60 minutes. Target IBU, so this is bitterness, a measure of bitterness, had to be between 35 and 45. And the target OG anywhere between 1051 and 1060, which is 12.6 to 14.7 degrees Plato for you nerds out there. Nothing was given for the finishing gravity, which I imagine is due to the fact that everybody mashed at the same temp and fermented with the same yeast. That said, I did some calculations and found that the beers should have an FG range of anywhere between 1011 to 1013 with ABVs between about 5.3 and 6.5. All right. So I know a lot of that didn't make any sense to you too, Timmy and Justin. But
well, I don't know about you, Justin, but that sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher talking.
I feel like there was a half a dozen words he made up.
Hey, Justin, I was gonna ask you about the Lovibond and what you thought the color of this was.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is definitely in the purple category.
Yeah, it's not purple. That is actually a bad thing for beer these days.
Oh, it's not purple.
I will. So we're going to do this. All of the Brew Club members who sent beers to us did include some notes. Some of them just included the recipe, so I may not say as much about it. That is not a diss to anybody who sent beers in. It's just I'm reading what they included. And so I'm going to share some of this info while we're drinking them. The first beer comes from the Brew Club member, Brent Langdon, who is from Virginia, and he made this beer. Let's see, a 2.5 gallon batch, which I think is cool. So a half of a normal homebrew batch, if you're looking at standards. And it looks like he used about 85% pale malt, 6% crystal 40, and 9% white wheat malt. So those are the three that he had to use. He did not use any flaked oats. Let's see, he bittered with Magnum. It looks like he used Warrior actually at 30 minutes. This was let's see, it looks like he might have boiled for just 30 minutes as well. Nope, it was a 60-minute boil. So he did follow that rule, but he added his first dose of Warrior, which is a high alpha, meaning high bitterness hop, at 30 minutes. Added Cascade and Centennial at 15 minutes. I'm not going to get into the amounts. And then did Citra and Cascade and Centennial for flame out, it looks like. And then he dry hopped with Citra and Cascade, fermented with the Bry 97. So what do you guys think of the way it looks?
I tell you what, Brent, this is a good one.
It looks gorgeous too.
Yeah,
it does.
I mean, super clear.
I was actually surprised when I learned he used wheat in it
because of the haze. Yeah.
Based on the way it looks, it is crystal clear.
Yeah. No, it is crystal clear and perfect little white cap of foam on the top that kind of sticks around the glass.
Flax and gold. Nicely done, Brent.
Nicely done. And also the 2.5 gallon batch to pull this off in a 2.5 gallon batch.
Pretty cool.
Wait, is this is maybe a dumb question? Is that hard?
Not really.
It just sounds like half the work.
Okay.
That's not how. That's actually the same amount for less output. Yeah.
Let me clarify.
Please don't.
To me, 2.5 gallons of this beer,
Isn't enough.
I would be frustrated because I spent all that time and I only got 2.5 gallons of this beer.
This is good.
It is really good.
It is good.
So on the aroma, I get a very particular fruit character, and I'm wondering if you guys are going to call that out.
Like a tropical type of fruit?
Yes. A also overripe version of that tropical fruit.
Yeah, it's almost like a pineapple citrus type thing hit the ground and it's been there for a couple of days. It doesn't smell bad. It just smells pungent.
I love that.
It's
it's
so
pineapple
good.
is what I'm getting. And it
So
is
good.
It is like juicy, overripe. Like when you're in Hawaii eating pineapple going, I didn't know pineapple could taste like this. That's what I'm getting in this. It smells amazing and it really does taste clean. I'm not getting any contamination.
The back end bitterness is delicious.
It's bitter on the front end for me.
So before,
like I just brushed my teeth and was drinking.
I was tasting this while
Sorry,
you
Brent.
were, because I didn't know the characteristics of what you were asking the club to do.
Yeah.
And as I was drinking it, I thought this is the classic American pale ale
It's very
that got
good.
me into beer drinking. It remains my favorite style to this day.
See, not even close for me. I mean, when Marshall said it's Sierra Nevada, and I'm like, not really my thing. I do like their Oktoberfest, and I think they make a Christmas.
The
the
celebration.
celebration.
Yeah, the celebration.
Phenomenal,
Those are pretty good, but across the board, I'm not that's not my thing.
Right.
Or that Boston Brewing Company, or them too. But this is
It's
really
very
good.
I feel like the parameter of IBU is what's keeping this one in check for you guys. And so when I think of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, which I have a feeling is going to come up a bit today since that's the style that we're focusing on, that really is that's like the hallmark pale ale for a lot of people. I think I don't know for sure, but I've heard that they use Chinook, and Chinook is a hop that is known to impart a more aggressive bitterness. So it could be the same IBU, measured IBU, and Chinook, again, ostensibly will kind of come across as being a bit sharper and more bitter. I feel like their choice to have them bitter with either Magnum, and it looks like maybe they let Warrior in on that as well. Both known hops to have a smooth bitterness. So you get the bitterness to balance the sweet malt stuff, but it's not sharp. It doesn't hurt.
And very well done.
I've changed out Magnum with Warrior a lot. I
And it's
use
not
those.
lingering around. After you finish.
Yeah, you're right. It's I drank it, I enjoyed it, and it's gone.
Well, the thing about Sierra Nevada also that it's a maltier than this. It's got a bit more malt backbone, which means it needs to be quite a bit more bitter, like perceived bitterness of it. So.
Boy, between Marshall and Paul, the
We're
level
good
of
at this.
intelligence has gone through the roof.
Yeah, there's this whole concept of when you know nothing, somebody who knows barely anything just sounds very smart. So, but
As Marshall said, who barely knows anything, he gestured towards me.
Timmy, it's very much, it feels like it's an us versus them right now.
We're winning.
Easily.
so Tim,
Nerds.
is this a beer that you feel like you could drink
Yeah,
consistently?
100%. It's I mean, I guess they're all going to be a little bitter on the for me, but it doesn't stay there. So I would.
One of the things I'm interested about with this, and I was thinking about it as I was putting these show notes together, was what's Tim going to think about the bitterness between each beer? Because one, palate fatigue can work in your favor for bitterness. As your palate starts to acclimate to 35 to 45 IBU, beers will start to the bitterness will start to not feel so strong, but all of these are brewed to the same parameters. So I'm curious if you start to notice either the bitterness going down or if there are certain beers that you have today that
I noticed it just from the first sip to this damn near last one here. It's it's not that strong.
Yeah, I get what you're putting down. I'm picking it up because the bitterness is there. Like you said, Justin, I get it. Definitely. It's perfect though. I think it's
There's
the right.
nothing off-putting about the bitterness on this one.
I was actually told, Paul, you might find this more interesting than Tim and Justin, but I was told by, I was told by some folks up in Yakima a few years ago that when they're doing sensory on a single hop pale ale, that they aim for between, I believe they said 30 to 40 IBU, because and that's why for the Hop Chronicles, that's why we chose to do that. Because we don't want the bitterness to overwhelm the hop character. Right. And so that's it. Now, one last comment that I've got is, the packaging. Now, Brent, your beer was phenomenal. The, blue painter's tape that you used for your label was also, it was fitting, I guess, but it looked good. But this next beer that we've got comes from Scott Singletary, and the label of which is very, very pretty. I mean, you put some work into this, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's
Oh,
a
yes.
cool
That is
looking
nice.
label.
Yeah. It's legit. It's like a really nice label. So good job there. And the notes that I got from him are rather long. So I'm going to let you guys kind of talk about the way it looks while I review these real quick.
I'd say this looks completely
That one's
different. The other one was
dirty
crystal
looking.
clear
Looks-
and amber. This
I
looks,
like the way it looks, though.
Yeah, this looks super dark.
It's
hazy.
definitely got a darker color to it, but it's fairly clear. The haze is the condensation on your
Not
glass.
on mine.
No, you know what? You guys poured the bottle. You got to remember not to pour the bottom of the bottle.
Well, I
was my
left it up
fault.
to
That was
Paul
my
because
fault.
Paul's the expert
Listen,
contributor.
That was my fault. That was my
That's
fault.
why I asked you to pour
I
them, Paul.
poured,
Come
and
on.
then Justin gestured. I said, "You want some more?" He gestured to me, so I poured it in. As soon as I did it
Wait, why did it change color? This looks
because there was some residual, maybe some residual
sediment in the bottom of the bottle.
bottom of the bottle.
You have one job.
Yeah, Paul, you have one job. So the color, though, let's not focus
I
on
like
the
the
clarity.
color.
If you look at Paul's and mine, and if you guys want to try these ones, we can share. But it is clear. When you bottle beers, even off of a keg, or if you're bottle conditioning,
this.
you're going to get. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. You're going to get some sediment settling to the bottom of the bottle. So you got a little bit of that. It does not look like it's yeast. It's probably more of a protein thing that fell out.
looks like a glass of Warrior. That's what I was thinking.
That's a hop.
Yeah.
So I do want to say real quick, though, again, very nice white foam on the top. It is clear. It is, I would say, a couple of shades darker than the last one.
Yes.
We had.
Oh,
yeah,
very
100%.
much.
So we're going to get to this recipe here in a minute. What do you guys think about the way it smells?
There's not as strong characteristic
Yeah,
wise
yeah.
as the last one. This is pretty mellow. I'm kind of struggling to get much of anything out of it.
I think it smells good. I definitely pick up what I haven't looked at the recipe, but it
Little
smells
bready?
like, so it smells like Crystal 60 to me. Because I use it a lot and I like that malt. Crystal malt is what I guess could be easily described as a sugar malt. You use it to impart kind of a sweetness with some certain roasty characteristics, and Crystal malt will have that toasted bread. You like it a lot.
It's
Tim.
very good.
And that's what kind of makes this one look a bit redder than the last one. It's not.
Got it.
right?
That's your
Yeah.
new nickname, Paul. You're going to go by Sugar Malt from
Which,
now
by the
on.
way, this looks like Sierra Nevada.
yes.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
does.
it's the same color as Sierra Nevada for those of you listening out there. I
about
would like.
100 million times better than Sierra Nevada.
I hope Ken
job,
Grossman doesn't
Scott.
listen to this.
I hope Sierra Nevada's not a sponsor. It was a good run for you, Marshall. Good
Yeah,
run.
well, it's no longer going to be played in the brew house.
I love Sierra Nevada. So
Yes,
Ken,
I do too.
I want to read what Scott wrote because I think it's kind of sweet. So he says, participating in the Brew Club's Average Brew to me really encompassed one of the best things about brewing, engaging with like-minded individuals who share a passion for brewing by pooling our ideas together and creating a baseline criteria in which to plan and execute a tasty adult beverage. It was a lot of fun, and I can say I truly learned much more than I thought I would. Thank you for your honest feedback on this beer as a novice brewer. Ooh, that's fun. I had a great brew day, and I hit all my planned numbers where it counted. I used new-to-me equipment during the mash and boil, stepped outside my norm during fermentation, and I bottled from a keg for the first time.
Yes.
You don't even know what that means. As such, I hope these beers find you fully carbonated. Scott, they are fully carbonated. Pale ales are my go-to style, and I tend to brew them often. I stepped outside of my norm by dry hopping this time, which was a requirement for the average brew. If I brew this again, I will probably increase the hop addition during the hop stand and forego the dry hop addition. While I do like hop-forward beers, I tend to get the result I like without dry hopping. Thanks for your honest feedback. And big shout out to Haven. Man, Haven Schultz, honestly, big shout out. He's one of the leadership guys on the Brew Club for turning this thing into what it is. So let's take a look at this recipe.
I tell you what, if this is what pale ale
This is good.
I've been missing the boat for my whole life. I mean, maybe I was drinking the wrong ones. These are good.
It's a style that you can do. I mean, as you can tell, you can do a lot with it. I mean, the parameters are not so narrow that you can't find something somebody likes about a pale ale.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So here's the thing. This is really interesting to me because maybe it's just because he did a 5-gallon batch. I don't know, but his recipe is very, very similar to Brent's, the last one. It's almost exactly the same, in fact, in terms of fermentables, because I would have expected him to use C60, given the color. It is wildly different in
Same
color.
here.
Yeah, I figured you would think that, Justin.
Yeah.
So 85% for Brent for the 2-row pale malt, 87% for Scott. Brent used 6% Crystal 40. He used 4% Crystal 40, so he did not use Crystal 60. And then Scott used, 9% of white wheat, which is exactly what Brent used as well. So they're very similar recipes, but wildly different looking.
These are good foodies.
That is really interesting.
Good.
Yeah, this is a really good beer.
Yeah, I agree. He did a first wort hop with Magnum. I like that.
Yes.
Scott. And then he did, Cascade and Centennial at 15 minutes. So that was his mid boil. People have kind of been changing up their hopping schedules when it comes to brewing. The classic way to do it was 60 minutes for bittering, 30 minutes into the boil for flavor, and then anything under 15 minutes was for aroma. And that's kind of been debunked. And so I think that's a solid move.
Debunked, yes, but it's what I do for Hop Chronicles.
I still do it for all my pale ale. And when I make an American pale ale, I always do a 30-minute addition of some weird hop like Fuggles or something
Right.
like that, because I feel like it gives this, but it gives this kind of mid-palate fullness.
Yeah, the Hop Chronicles is that classic bittering schedule.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm feeling?
Classic
So on the
hop
back
schedule.
of my tongue, it seems like there's like a flavor bomb just kind of hanging out back there.
And it stays,
Yes.
right?
And it's
And
not
it stays.
bad. It's just, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he hopped this. He did first wort, which means before the boil started, he added the bittering hops, and then he waited 45 minutes into the boil to add his first hop addition after that, the Cascade and Centennial. And then he did a hop stand with it looks like he might have used a little bit of Mosaic. So they're kind of fudging a little on the rules here, but I'll take it. 'Cause
I like it.
This beer is very good.
I hate rules.
Yeah.
Good for pushing the boundaries there. Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Now he included some water chemistry stuff, so he's taken his water seriously, and I feel like that's one of the reasons we also really enjoy this beer. I have to imagine Brent did some water chemistry stuff because that beer came across so clean and well made as
You
well.
pointed that out to me. We went to a brewery once, and I will not say their name, but their beer, the recipes were good, but they just didn't have a very good taste. And you pointed out it's bad water that they're using.
There are certain characteristics that are very, very obviously, I shouldn't say that. They are very likely water related. And they're kind of easy to point out. And I know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to mention it either, but it was water. That was an easy
And I
one.
think it was like they must have taken the water out of the top tank of your restroom
Toilet.
and use that. It was, but obviously,
you just have to know-
90% water makes
you
beer.
got to know that if you're a
Yeah,
commercial
go
brewer,
figure.
that
I mean,
is
the beer tastes like shit, but otherwise it's pretty good. Yeah.
Hey, but they got a great band that night.
Yeah, your mosaic is phenomenal, but the
Extra
water is-
malty.
I don't like your love of bond.
yeah.
What do you? So you guys, what do you get
It's
in the
good.
aroma? It's good, but what do we? Let's break it down.
I got
nothing on there.
I get the very classic American pale pine and citrus. Citrus with the hint of pine in the back. To me,
I have toasted bread with a smear of mango jam.
Okay,
The
I just took
aroma?
my first sip. No, yeah. So, but I think
Paul, I've been doing this a while. Okay.
on the nose, I get mostly malt and a muted hop thing. So I'm just getting to this beer right now. In the flavor, I get the jammy thing, which to me, and this is Scott says he's a novice brewer, first time bottling from the keg. And I've had this beer for about 2.5, 3 weeks in my kegerator outside. I think the darkness may be attributed to a little bit of oxidation. When you bottle
like air coming in under the cap or something.
Exactly. And oxidation is one of the most difficult things for brewers to avoid. I mean, you have to employ some very annoyingly
Yes.
convoluted
Yes.
techniques. Now, people who've been doing it for a while will say it's so easy, but for a person who is a novice brewer, as Scott said, who also this is the first time that he packaged from I could drink this beer and not complain about it.
Absolutely.
I do. I imagine that what he's drinking off the keg pops even more than this. This has not taken on a purple color. It has not taken on that grayish color that is associated
but
with.
surprisingly more copper colored. More redder.
Surprisingly more,
than the first one we had.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it looks like a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale to me.
does.
And so my hunch is that when he's drinking it at home, it's probably paler, and that it has more hop pop, if you will.
Right.
But otherwise, honestly, if I went to a brew pub and this was served to me, I would drink it without complaining. I wouldn't
All
even
day.
think about it.
All day.
Yeah, it's very good. So,
What would be interesting about this, if both of these were on tap at a brewery, they would both be billed as American Pales, but they would be served. People would get on a flight and say, I want to try that one, and I want to try that one, and they would think it was different.
Yeah, I'd
very
look at that and go,
differently
oh, cool, it's an IPA type of thing or something like that just from looks, but clearly doesn't have any of those characteristics. I think it
was good.
Boy, it was good.
I enjoyed it.
Really good.
yeah, I liked it as well. And so, overall impression, if you're gonna order this at like I said though, you would drink the beer. It was good.
All day.
I mean, I don't want to do the comparative thing because I feel like preference is so subjective. Both of these beers so far have been very well done. My hunch is that Brent is using, and maybe not. I mean, I'm sure maybe they'll talk about it in the Brew Club Facebook group or let us know. It's email me directly. But I feel like, given how similar those recipes were, that Brent probably uses a different method for packaging his beer in bottles than Scott does. And Scott, the only tip that I would give, if this is indeed an oxidation issue, which I get the jammy thing, and that's what gave it away, because oxidized beer to me tastes a little bit sweet, candy sweet, like the inside of a. I say lemon heads, but without the lemon. So that when you suck a lemon head down and the lemon's gone and you just got that sugary thing in your mouth.
Yeah.
I get a little hint of that in here. And likelihood is if it had set out in the warmth in my garage as opposed to my kegerator for a while, that it probably would have gotten worse. And that's just, oxygen does that. So you just got to be careful with that.
Yeah, Timmy made the comment, off microphone, a little caramel, almost like a little bit like an overdone caramel.
Overdone, like overcooked caramel?
Yeah, a little overcooked caramel, where it's gone to the point where it's, maybe I guess it wouldn't be over, but it's definitely sweeter. I probably should have just left it with you and what you said. A lemon head without
That's
the
why I
lemon.
said it off the mic.
Well, and the thing is that a little hint of caramel flavor is not a flaw in an American Pale Ale. And truth be told, you guys enjoy it. I mean, I feel like
I like it.
Yeah.
100%.
The thing is, oxidation doesn't stop. It continues to ruin a beer. So if that is the case, I'd be curious, for example, if I had a third bottle of that, just because I'm a nerd, I'd go set it outside on my workbench for a few days and see if it turns even darker. And if it got darker compared to the one in the fridge, because oxidation, as most chemical reactions do, slows down as the temperature is reduced. And so, I just think it's interesting. So
Marshall's making some sun beer, kind of like some sun tea.
that's the last thing you want to make. All right.
gross.
So this next beer is, this one comes from Will Lovell, who, full disclosure, is on the Brew Club leadership, but he was one of the randomly selected ones who got to ship their beer in for us to review. Will is a great brewer, as you can tell by the way this beer looks. Beautiful. So far, in my opinion, that foam is the stickiest, thickest one that we've seen so far.
Yeah, that's got some legs to it. From a color perspective, though, it looks a lot like the one we just had.
It looks exactly the same.
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah. So, a little bit about this beer. Let's see. It started at 10:53, which is, and finished at 10:11. That was one of the things I predicted. IBU on this one is 59. So I forget what the parameter was. I'm going to go back up and look.
Does
at that.
morning matter over night?
So this one, according to Will's,
Like dew in the air? Does that have anything to do with it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's a different podcast.
Yeah. That's your poetry podcast.
Yes.
This one says that he's got 59 IBU, so a little bit higher than what he and the other leadership guys did. But again, we can fudge a little bit. It's just beer. Fermentables on this one, he used something called Wildfire Pale Malt. I have to imagine that came from a craft maltster, which is really cool. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
I've not heard of it. Justin, I'm not going to ask you. Timmy, have you heard of it?
Just about 30 seconds ago.
Well, I thought you had a bag of that in your garage.
He also used, this one makes sense to me. The crystal malt he used is 68 SRM. That's the color level.
Oh, yeah.
So 40 versus 68. And he used 6% of it. So 12 ounces in a 5-gallon batch. That explains this color to me. Yep. I'm assuming that was also, I've never seen 68 SRM crystal malt. So either a UK or this local craft maltster or something like that. And then he used a very tiny amount, 3 ounces or 1.6% of white wheat. He, like the parameters say, he bittered it with Magnum and then used Cascade and Centennial at, 15 minutes. He did the same thing Scott did. And then hit it with Cascade, Centennial, and Citra at 1 minute, probably for a flame out, and then dry hopped with Cascade and Citra. He also messed with his water, so I'm imagining that he knows what's up in terms of water profile.
So, Marshall, let me ask you a question about the Citra, because it's my favorite hop. Full disclosure on that.
It's a lot of people's favorite hop, yeah.
It is a lot of people's favorite hop because it's a really good hop. But did you give any parameters about the amount of hops that people are it was up to them on the amount of Cascade?
I'm going to remind you of something that you didn't hear earlier.
Because I was
Marshall,
checking my feed.
I have no involvement in this whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah. So ask your question and I'll try to answer it for the brew club guys.
The rest of the parameters were provided, right? Use this yeast, use this malt, and everything. But it was just how much. So if someone wanted to use a bunch of Citra and a little bit of Cascade and Centennial,
as long as they included both, they could use however much they wanted. Yeah, exactly. So it could be like one pellet of Cascade and the rest all Citra.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you asking because of something you're picking up in this beer?
It's because it's something I'm not picking up in this beer, right? Which Citra, to me, I like a Citra because it's refreshing. It's really, again, citrusy, and with the exception of the first one, I'm not. These are more classic style.
This one here?
Yeah.
This one here, it tastes like a classic American pale ale. And if I'm not mistaken, Will he either lives in Texas or the Midwest. I'm thinking of him in Haven right now. I think Will lives in the Austin, Texas area. Correct me. Will's going to correct me if I'm wrong. I promise you. This beer, what do you guys think? What are you getting on the nose?
It's crisp. I mean, there's a lot of like upfront. I don't know what the word is because my palate is still in formation.
Words are from your brain, not your palate. So,
but I'm trying to sound smart, which is a struggle.
Good luck
for me.
We believe in you, Justin.
As it's more than just the sound.
It seems like this one hits. It just hits different. It's almost like it's a rolling. The more you drink it, it comes on later, a little softer, and then it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then goes away.
I mean, to me, it's more like it's the bitterness is not there right at the beginning. It's at the middle to the end.
Yeah.
And then still I can still taste it right now.
See, that's the OG right there.
So-
Timmy Tim.
So I actually get very
I
little.
like it.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I get very little bitterness from this, but
Yep.
I feel like it's because it's so balanced with the sweetness. I also don't get sweet. I get this kind of clean, malty, malt forward impression, but then with that in the nose, I get, again, overripe pineapple, but it's a lot more subtle than the previous one. And it washes away really quick. And this is one I could crush all day, but it does have, in my opinion, more of a creamy mouthfeel than the other ones.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say. The word that came into my mouth or my brain was meringue.
Yeah, exactly. It's got this kind of creamy,
light,
Okay.
fluffy
thing. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There you go. I could tell, like, scientifically, the person that made this knows what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and again, it's no, not putting anything else down. Personally, my untrained palate would probably go more for the first two that we had over this one, but it's not because this one isn't a good beer. This is one like you've had a long day at work. You want to come home and have like just a solid, hard-hitting beer that's good. This would, in my mind, I don't know if I'd want to have 2 or 3 or 4 to where the other ones I could have 2 or 3 or 4.
I probably would have each of those. So far I've liked them all. They're very good.
Yeah, this has been, I tell you what, these, if the rest of the day goes like this was going to be a good afternoon, and it's, the flavors coming in are phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm excited that Will sent one in because I've been talking with him a lot. He's big time part of the Brew
let me
Club
interrupt you
thing.
real quick.
Yeah.
Is there a citrus flavor
Yes,
somewhere? Okay.
it's called Citra.
Okay, there you go. No, I just took the last sip of this, and there was some foam in it, and that the foam aspect of it really, it's like it opened up the citrus flavor more for me from the Citra in the beer.
I'll take your word. Okay. All right. This next one, we're going to have tinier amounts because
we're running low.
Jonah sent one bottle of this and a bottle of something else that we'll review in a future episode.
Boy,
That's
inflation
good.
and
That's
budget
good.
cuts are really hitting this thing.
I know.
hard.
Come on, Jonah, right? So this next
one's
one,
very clean.
This next beer does come from Jonah DeWaters from Portland, Maine. So this is about as
that's a
far
long,
away,
long ways to go.
about as far away from us as you can get. And he sent a really nice note. I'm gonna read some of it. Just about the Average Brew beer here. He says, the Average Brew is a little off script from the recipe Haven and the rest of the folks that run the brew club put together. I belong to a homebrew club in Portland, Maine that's sponsored by a local brewery. Shout out to Island Dog Brewing. Any local brewery that supports homebrew clubs, I will shout out all day on the show. So Island Dog Brewing, if you're around Portland, Maine, go there. A few times a year, we get to take part in a professional brew day and take some of the wort home before it's boiled to boil, hop, and ferment, as we like to do. Or as we like. In this case, the mash was for a Belgian Golden Strong Ale, which it turned out had a grain bill that's similar to an American Pale Ale. Pale 2 Row, Munich, Vienna, Crystal 10, and caramel aromatic malt. Okay. This last one was a new one for me, Jonah says. Since I was getting the wort for free, I decided to make this without buying anything, using hops I already had on hand and the donated dry yeast I was sent for the Average Brew. That's the Bry 97. I diluted the wort to knock down the pre-boil gravity to something more, quote, pale ale appropriate. I added 1 ounce of Centennial, boiled for 30 minutes, and added 2 ounces of CTZ hop hash at flame out. So this is pretty far away from the Average Brew recipe, but whatever. We'll enjoy it, Jonah. Since I was this far off the rails from the recommended recipe, I figured I'd go full West Coast IPA.
I like Jonah more and more. The more and more I hear this, I like
Jonah
it.
sounds
Rules,
like-
throw them out the window.
Yeah. I'm going to send it in anyways.
Definite
right?
rebel.
So he says, I figured I'd go full West Coast IPA on the beer and dry hop with 1 ounce of CTZ. That's Columbus is a very popular hop that's been around for a long time. It was hop hash and 1 ounce of Citra hop hash. So he sounds like he's got a lot of hop hash on hand. The beer clocks in at 6.1% ABV and has an FG of about 10-11. So
Color, which is weird, though.
Before we get into that, I want to say that Jonah, with the whole take home wort thing, he has definitely embraced the short and shoddy. I'm going to send in this beer, but I'm just going to get some wort from the brewery and bring it home.
Well, I tell you, color is similar to the last couple we have. This tastes completely different.
Yeah.
it
Yes,
smells
yes.
completely
It
different.
You guys
Yeah.
are going to give me
This
so
is
much.
the first one that I've been able to smell.
It is very strong.
You're going to give me
Very
so much
strong,
crap for what I'm about to say.
it.
I'm getting a salty nacho cheese back end. I'm telling you, I don't know why my brain's going there. Maybe it's because I'm a little chubby and I like nachos. I drink this and it's this. There's like a little pepperiness to it, a little. And when I say like a cheesy type, it's not a negative connotation. It just feels familiar.
I have a theory with me personally. If I'm drinking a certain style of beer and then I change to a different style, it will, like Marshall and I will talk about this, and I'll say, this is what I'm getting off of it. And he won't get the same thing, because if I show up and I've been drinking and we do something,
which is most of the time.
Which is most of the
every
time.
time. Yeah, every time.
But that could be a contrast between some of these other malts. This is a very much more complex malt bill than
It's
the
so
other.
I don't know. I've never used caramel aromatic. I've never used that before. I've used
think that I
aromatic
have.
malt once, and I threw the rest away. I did not like it. This smells like a Belgian ale, but it was fermented with Brine 97. So I'm not sure what. I don't think it's a contamination. It is perfectly clear.
It is
It's
very
good.
clear.
Very clear. It's beautifully colored. It looks
It's
just
cheesy.
like it's.
Cheesy.
Well, so that's funny you
Don't-
say that.
don't- yeah.
So cheese.
It has to be
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
wrong.
say
It has to be the wrong thing
I
I'm
would,
saying, but
I would dial the
That's where my
the
immature brain
enthusiasm
goes.
about cheese back a little bit.
no,
if you're gonna
I
talk
mean
to a
this
brewer.
in the highest form of flattery.
It's okay, though.
I'm getting it just reminds me of
Okay.
nacho chips.
Okay, I think I know what it is. So, so there is that's funny that you say that, because this is actually I'm not getting cheese, but I am definitely getting oxidized hops. Oxidized hops are associated with what I've been told is referred to as beta acid bitterness, as opposed to alpha acid.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which, yeah, I figured it would. Which is a lingering. It's the bitterness sticks around longer. Now, this is not a terribly bitter beer, but I do get the kind of this lingering bitterness, and it is like enveloped in this weird caramely flavor.
right. The
There you go.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Tim?
I get the caramel.
By caramel, you mean cheese?
I do get the caramel. Oh, you said sneeze, not cheese.
That's good. I want another.
I
one of
definitely
those.
you
Yeah.
can smell the caramel more.
yeah.
So hop hash has an interesting origin. My understanding of what hop hash is. So you guys know what hash is.
Like hashish?
Yes. So hop hash is basically
I do.
when they're processing dried hops, once they've come off the kiln and they go to processing and everything's moving around, it's tons of hops. And so a bunch of powder kind of falls down.
Oh, it's keef.
It's keef, basically. They should call it hop keef.
Yeah, hop keef.
And we'll explain later, Justin.
Sorry.
Wow.
Paul
So-
Hop keeps all the time.
And so I wonder if that stuff doesn't oxidize a little bit faster, because this tastes to me like the few times where I've used oxidized hops, this kind of has a little bit of that character to it. Now, it could be just that the malt is making the hops come across that way. Without question, would you guys agree with me that this does not taste anything like any of the other beers we've had?
It's
far?
completely different.
It's
That's why
completely different.
the whole, like, when I say cheese, it's not that it's like I'm suckling down processed nacho cheese at a ballpark.
I just
Which I've seen you do, Justin.
Yeah.
Justin,
I've seen you do that.
I just like guzzled like the last little bit, and I got a little Parmesan in it.
See, Parmesan.
Well,
So maybe I'm just using the wrong cheese. It's a little Parmesan cheese,
Not
But
nacho
it's-
cheese.
Yeah, it's not nacho cheese. So what I'm saying is you get that kind of musty, cheesy type of deal. But I mean it in the highest form of respect. It's not a bad thing. It's a good beer. And I'm just wrong in calling it cheesy.
Well,
but
so here's the thing: is that
it's not like Cheetos.
oxidized old hops are often described as imparting a cheesy character. That is no joke. Oh, you look proud.
It's
So-
like I've done this before for 4 episodes.
It is I perceive, and this is, again, there's so much about the way we perceive things and describe things that is based on just how we experience them. And it could just be that you are picking up what classically is described as oxidized hops that I experience on my own as being this kind of different form of bitterness and whatever it might be. So I
It's
think
not Miller Lite, that's for sure.
Jonah, thank you for sending the beer.
Good
in.
stuff, Jonah. Keep it up.
Yeah, Justin loves nacho cheese and your beer. So
When I'm in Portland, Maine, me and Jonah, we getting some nachos.
I
and
just
some
like
beer.
that Jonah was like, went to the brewery and they were doing the malt. He was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it.
which is why I don't feel bad talking about it differently than the other beers, because this is your fault,
Yeah,
Jonah.
Jonah's like,
he
hey,
raided the
guys-
fridge and sent us the beer. That was
Guys,
good.
I'm
I
going to
love
filter my hops and
love it.
mash through a Doritos bag.
Well, and
just for grins.
What I the whole time you guys were talking about it, and I'm over here pouring mine and smelling it, going, okay, I like Jonah's style. Like you said, he'd fit in well with us.
Oh, yeah.
Our brew crew over here in Fresno. I have to imagine he was like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a go.
See what happens.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't make the wort, whatever. Yeah. So I wonder what his like packaging process was. It sounds like he took the wort home, boiled it, added his own hops. Cool.
Took
Sounds
it
great.
home,
Yeah.
or did he have permission? That's what I would like to know. Did
You want
Jonah
to know if he
steal the
stole
wort?
it? Well, he could have. He could have. So
Hey.
But what I like about Jonah is Marshall said, all right, here's the rules. And Jonah said, rules?
Rules. I'm
Here's
sending
what
it
we
anyway.
doing. All right, send in a pale ale.
Actually,
all
what
right, how about a
what
barley
Jonah probably
wine?
did was listen to the episode, and then he went raiding his fridge from that one thing he did, and was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to send that in. See if I can."
yeah, he's like, it's totally,
totally
it's
a
a
pale ale.
pilsner. Yeah.
These clowns won't know.
This next
And
beer,
you're right.
This next beer comes from the Brew Club member Don Teets out of Middletown, Pennsylvania. He says, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this experiment and what you think of all the different but same-ish beers. We're having fun reviewing them, Don, so thanks. My take on the average brew is closer to IPA territory than Pale Ale, weighing in at 6.2% ABV, which, by the way, I think is the top of what my little calculation said. 33 IBU, so that is low bitterness, according to Beersmith calculation, he says. This beer consists of 78% pale malt, 12% oats, so this is the first one we've had that used flaked oats.
Nicely done.
5% Crystal 40 and 5% white wheat malt. Most of my hop additions were saved for Flame Out and the dry hop. Thanks for judging these beers. I'm looking forward to the review episode. All right. What do you guys think? It looks beautiful. Again,
Color
for these
color 10 out of 10.
I want to
This
know what
is
these guys are
gorgeous.
doing with oats and wheat, and it's not coming out with even.
I feel like they've been sitting in my fridge like completely untouched for the last 3 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, which, some of if you have negative stuff, I'll take some responsibility for
A
that.
lot of bitterness on this one.
So you're getting bitterness on it, huh? What about the aroma? I think it smells phenomenal. Again, this to me smells like I'm sitting in a brew pub, and I just ordered their like house IPA.
Yes.
I love that smell.
Nothing jumps out.
I get pale malt, a little bit of Crystal 40, and some Cascade hops is what I get.
Did you do the recipe?
He did not send the recipe,
He didn't
but,
send the recipe,
but he
okay.
did send. Well, he kind of did. He didn't talk about.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't talk about hop additions, but he
Okay.
said he saved most of them for Flame Out, which makes sense to me. I'm
Makes
getting
sense.
a lot of
Yeah.
aroma on this.
Why is this an experiment? Did he say why it was an experiment?
I think it's because he doesn't usually brew using other people's parameters. I don't know.
I
though.
like him already.
Yeah, he said. I appreciate your thoughts on this experiment because it's the average brew thing. That's the experiment, Justin.
All right, first drink, didn't really like it. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be absolutely respectful because I can't do this. Second drink, substantially better.
Timmy, what do you think?
First drink, same as the second. It's just like it's bitter more towards the end for me, where I don't like it lingering around like that.
It lingers. I get that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is around for a few minutes. Kind of like a cigar. It's not. It's either you love it or you don't love it. But regardless of loving it or not loving it, it hangs out for a bit.
As Marshall said, it reminds me of sitting in brew pubs in the 90s or 2000, early 2000s, classic American pale type of thing. I'm not sure I'd order two, but if it was New England next to it, I'd definitely order a second one.
Also known as a hazy IPA. Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot
I'm
we weren't
sitting here
supposed
and
to
I'm
be
like, oh,
opinionated
cool. All
on
right, I
this
didn't know
show.
he had an issue with Boston.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
I like
meanwhile,
I
he's
like
from
the-
Pennsylvania.
I like
so.
the initial taste of it, and then the lingering of the afterwards. But that's just me.
So I have to wonder, and I hope Don lets us know in the Brew Club group if he does anything with his water. Because I am getting, just on the tail end, I'm getting a little bit of
Chlorine.
what happens with chlorine is it creates this chlorophenol that is, it can be subtle and it can be really bad, but it's kind of peppery. It can be kind of rubbery. and I get just the slightest hint, and I wonder as I took a drink after smelling it, and I took a drink. I couldn't help but wonder, why did I think this reminded me of when I first started going to brew pubs in the early 2000s? And it could be because they're just using their water that they have available to them. So I had this issue in my brewery for a while where, and Paul can speak to this, I wouldn't know when they would switch over to our other water plant.
Oh, I remember that.
And I'd make these beers, and you guys are like, you would say metallic all the time. But when you said metallic, Tim, in my head, I'm going, okay, he's never said that about beers before. I know that we have different water sources about 2 to 3 months of the year. And I started treating my water with just a little bit of potassium or sodium metabisulfite. Lo and behold, that went away, even with the quote bad water.
Don't say bad water.
I know. He's a water guy.
I'm a water guy.
Paul, take over.
It just it underscores how important water is. Care about your water. I mean,
but it may not be that's the case here. I think it could be that he's doing RO water and treating it and all of that. But there is a, for the parameters of the average brew, this one, it tastes way more like the first three than it did the Belgian one that Jonah did. But I feel like Don did a really good job brewing it. I just can't help but wonder if what I'm tasting, I could drink this easily. I'm not going to dump this.
Absolutely.
We are being critical because that's what we're doing on this. It's
a
called a review. Yeah. But I feel like this one has a little bit of maybe like your chlorine is low enough, but when you make a beer with it, you're like, no, I've tasted this before, and it tastes very similar to the beers that I've made in my house that have had that same issue. So that is 5 beers that we've done so far. I don't know about you, but I could take
I need a Cheeto.
I need some nacho cheese, maybe.
Nacho cheese.
Go get some nacho cheese.
Burritos.
But I do need to use the restroom, and so we're going to take a quick break, grab some water. We will be right back with more Average Brew reviews. Family-owned Atlantic Brew Supply is the largest homebrew shop in the Southeast. No gimmicks, no multinational corporate overlords, and no BS. They offer exclusive malts, yeast, and more from local artisans, as well as award-winning recipe kits. They also sell professional brewing gear and cask equipment from sister companies ABS Commercial and Cask Supply. Most ingredients are available by the ounce, plus Atlantic Brew Supply has an on-site calculator to help you craft your best brew. Orders are processed same day, and 2-day shipping is guaranteed for East Coast customers. Get 15% off your first order using promo code BREWPOD. That's BRUPOD at AtlanticBrewSupply.com. As every brewer knows, the best beer requires the best hops, which Yakima Valley Hops provides fresh from the source to brewers around the world. Carrying everything from classics like Cascade to modern favorites like Galaxy and Mosaic, as well as other ingredients and gear, Yakima Valley Hops has it all. And don't forget to check out their new podcast, The Late Edition, where the YVH crew goes into depth on our favorite plant with industry experts. Head over to YakimaValleyHops.com now to see all they have to offer and subscribe to The Late Edition wherever it is you listen to podcasts.
Compact and simple to use with a small footprint for brewing indoors, the Grainfather makes it easy for you to brew professional quality beers at home. The Grainfather is an all-in-one brewing system that lets you brew all grain beer in a single, compact stainless steel unit. It uses an electric heating element and pump to maintain a constant temperature and to circulate the wort during the mashing and cooling stages. It also comes with a counterflow chiller to reduce chilling times and produce high-quality wort. And now, with the addition of their conical fermenter, the Grainfather takes things one step further by offering homebrewers state-of-the-art temperature-controlled fermentation just like commercial breweries use. And with the Grainfather Recipe Creator and Connect app, you can easily design a recipe, sync your brewing system with your phone, and then just sit back and relax as the app takes over and assures that you maintain your scheduled mash temps and boil schedule. Head to Grainfather.com to purchase your all-in-one brewing system today and to sign up for their free recipe creator tool. Once more, head on over to Grainfather.com, that's Grainfather.com, and get started today.
I can't speak for you guys, but I'm loving this so far. You guys ready to jump back into some AvgBrü pale ales?
Yes.
Let's do it.
This is
Let's
nothing
do it.
but average. This is great.
Here we go. So I actually don't have the bottles in front of me on this one. So Paul, if you would like to pull one of the bottles out so we can check out the packaging. I do like when people use these tags. That's pretty cool. This one comes from David O'Neill out of Virginia.
So this is by far the most creative
Is that a toe
label
tag?
we've had so far.
It looks like a toe tag.
Yeah.
It looks like a toe tag.
Hey, look,
And I
Paul,
see
it
this
might
is,
be a little dust
Jane
on the
Doe.
bottle.
I see that David has pretty decent handwriting, and this is a 6.2% ABV beer.
It is, and I will give some stats now before we really get into it. Let's see here. This is such a weird printout. I've never seen this. Oh, it's a Brewfather printout, but I've not. So thin, a 5 gallon. It looks like a 5 gallon. Batch size was 2.25 gallon is what it was. Let's see. He did 30. Oh, he used La Manta Pale. That is from Mecca Great Estate Malt. And it cut off the percentage because that is such a long name, so I can't speak for that one. He did also pair that with a little bit of Brees Brewer's malt, 35% of that, and then about 8% white wheat malt, 6% caramel 40, and about 5% flaked oats. So he also used flaked oats. He abided perfectly by the AvgBrü parameters with his Magnum, Cascade, Centennial, Citra additions. He did a first wort hop with Magnum at 30 minutes, even though it was a 60-minute boil for the bitterness. Magnum is a high alpha hop, and so a lot of people will do that. His first edition after that was 20 minutes later at 10 minutes left in the boil, 14 grams each of Cascade and Centennial. So he matched those up, and then he did a flame out edition of Citra, Cascade, and Centennial, with Citra being 14 grams and Cascade and Centennial being 7 apiece. So this sounds like the type of recipe I would make. He also did mess with his water, so thank you for that, David. What do you guys think? It looks beautiful.
It looks great.
Gorgeous.
This is the brightest beer that we've
one.
seen so
Absolutely.
far. Yeah, it is the clearest. It
I
also,
could tell it from looking at the bottle.
I would say it's the
that it was going to
most
be this
bitter
clear.
as well.
but so you're gonna skip past the aroma and go right into bitter.
Well, I don't really smell much, so
Oh, it smells so good. I love that aroma.
Crisp, clean smell.
I got a little apple going on here.
In the aroma?
No, in the taste.
Timmy, stay
Timmy's
in
gonna-
the chapter, Tim.
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
in this
you're in the
chapter.
wrong chapter, bro.
You're in the wrong chapter.
Yeah. So I get. All right, what do you get in the nose, Justin? Let you have this.
Well, I don't know. It turns out I'm allergic to hops. I've been sneezing for about 10 minutes now.
Why do you-
That could also be Tim. It could
Why
be
do
that
you-
you're allergic.
why do
I'm
you look
allergic
like
to
Hitch?
handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not getting a ton of anything jumping out at me.
So little trick.
Just maybe a little bread.
Smell your shirt.
Smell my pit.
Yeah, or Tim's armpit, and then go back and smell it immediately afterwards. I get the same. I get that overripe pineapple thing.
Yep.
It's same exact
Yep.
thing. Yeah. I love it. I love that aroma. And paired with perfectly lightly toasted bread, like white bread.
I was telling Justin earlier that you're saying everything's like pineapple. I just had pineapple for lunch and it's nothing like, no hint of it whatsoever.
Well, you're wrong. And
Wow. You know what, Tim? Look, we've been carrying this show now for how many episodes?
The hop bill that we're using here is the classic, citrus, tropical fruit
Yeah.
with a very distant impression of pine. To me,
not pineapple, and I get pine as well. I kind of get that running through all of them, but I feel like when you're using Cascade and Centennial, you expect a little bit of that.
You're going to get that. You're going to get that.
But the thing is I'm saying pineapple. When was the last time you put pineapple on toasted bread? You haven't.
I had a sandwich and pineapple.
Oh my God! But did you, Tim? I swear to God. Anyways, I did.
What kind of sandwich?
It was shredded chicken.
Oh, well, you don't know.
Nobody has shredded chicken sandwiches that don't go to a restaurant. You're a liar.
I did.
That sounds good to me, actually.
It was amazing.
And you know
Tim,
what I
could
think
you bring
would
us
go?
some?
You know what I think would go great with it? This beer by David O'Neill, who made it as I said before, and I do get that kind of overripe pineapple. Not the stuff we get here in the States that you eat, Timmy, but I'm talking like the overripe, like where you put it in your mouth and it falls apart juicy. That's what I get on the nose, but I also get massive amounts of very desirable toast, which I believe is probably from the Mecca Great Estate
I'm
Malt.
not getting the pineapple. I'm definitely getting the toast now. By the way, the shirt thing works.
I know
Pineapple.
you
it-
think
it-
our
smelling
friends-
my shirt.
it's just like a fermented tropical citrus.
Yeah, that's what I get as
but
well.
not pineapple.
This is also on the palate when I drink it. This is one of the cleaner fruit hop characters that I've gotten so far of all the beers, and this is our 6th one, I believe.
I don't know.
Does
I'm
it have
feeling
Citra in it?
like 6, yeah.
Yeah, Tim's over here nodding off.
Does this have the Citra in it?
Oh yeah, they all do.
In the Flame Out, yeah.
Yeah,
And the Dry Hop. More Citra and Flame Out and Dry Hop.
So he flamed out while
He
making
flamed
this.
out with Citra.
that's not a drug reference, Justin.
Oh.
Justin, it is not.
Got it.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
never heard the term flame out for anything other than brewing, but the I want to comment on the mouthfeel because we have not been talking about mouthfeel too much. I would also like to see the bottle because is it just a plain bottle?
It's a plain bottle.
All
It
right,
had the
David.
toe
Yeah,
tag on it.
nice job bottling it. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have put a label on it.
When you say I want to see the bottle, when you set those down, I looked at them and you could tell it was going to be this
Crystal clear, yeah.
This crystal
Yeah,
clear.
it's very
This is
clear.
without
It coats well, like in the mouth.
That's what I was going to
It's
say.
coating the
I'm
mouth
still
well.
It's
tasting
sticky. I get a stickiness.
A little sappy.
Which is exactly what you're, as a home brewer, to get that is a very desirable.
Oh, nicely done,
Very
good
desirable
sir.
character.
Nicely done.
This, in my opinion, and I don't mean to butter David's buns here.
Butter away.
Butter away. This is one of the most classic tasting
Yes.
of the bunch so far.
Kudos, David. Kudos.
I chased this kind of mouthfeel for so long, and it was because I didn't do water chemistry adjustments
the
for so
aroma-
long.
I
in
thought
brewing.
your beers were bad for a long time.
Well, you can think that, but you don't know what you're talking about. And,
I hit nacho cheese on the head, so clearly
Nailed
I did.
it.
Yeah. Nacho cheese.
It's the nacho cheese hop. It's from the Pacific Midwest, north via south. You have to head north on the southbound lanes to get there.
right.
That's pretty
That's like
cool.
running up an escalator that's
That's
going
cool,
down. Yeah.
Ranch.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
wait.
that's cool.
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the length of each one of these reviews as we get longer into the show.
I know.
right?
Well, David, I feel like you did a slaying job on this.
Bang up
David
job
did.
on this. This is a
It's
good
just
beer.
So
I think you
good.
nailed
Yeah.
it.
There's nothing off-putting about this. You don't get any unnecessary, danky, lingering anything. It's
So-
just good.
Is this the one where they used Mecha Grade, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I taste it.
Yes.
There's this fullness of the toasty malt character that I get from La Manta that I feel like I'm getting in this beer. Maybe that's not it, but it is very, very good. This is a fantastic beer. Paul, if you wouldn't mind pouring us the next one. What if you were served that beer at a brewery, Timmy? What would you do with it? Would you drink the whole thing and order another? Would you?
I would definitely drink the whole thing.
You were saying it's a little
because I'm a
too
cheap
bitter.
ass, but,
Yeah.
but then I probably would not order a second.
No, this is the kind of beer
It's a
I'd
little bit bitter
order.
for me.
I'd order it a few times. But that's a perfect level of bitterness for me.
But I also drink Miller Lite all the time. So
I know. So do I, Tim. So that's not an excuse. That's no excuse. Okay.
Oh, this is a nice looking beer you're bringing up. Well, let me end this. All right, David, nicely done. Great beer. Keep it up.
It really was.
You're
It
onto
really was
something.
an excellent beer. Yeah. So we are moving on to the next beer. This one comes from Trevor Mack, and I have to say,
and please note though, I did drink the entire beer.
yeah, oh yeah. I feel there's been one. I
It
think
wasn't that. It was good.
Yeah. I loved it. That was one of my favorites so far. Now this next pale ale comes from Trevor Mack, who calls his, I believe, home brewery a Pilot Batch
cool
Brewing. Yeah, Trevor Mack. I know. Actually, we have two Macks. That's the weirdest thing. They spell their last names different, but we have two last name Macks in this session. Yeah, and I don't think they're related. But this one comes again. Trevor calls himself Pilot Batch Brewing, and the label on this one is really nice. Now his ABV is 7%. So either he got some he's from Auburndale, Massachusetts.
Oh, Mac Daddy
yeah.
bringing it from
they
some
get
Mass.
pretty full up there.
The
I
Mac
think
Daddy
they do.
Mass
Yeah.
Brewing.
These are some really nice labels. I like them.
Yeah,
a
that
lot.
that looks like a wine label there. He got after it.
Yeah, it does look like a wine label. I'm gonna go. I want you to hear what you guys think about the way it
Well,
looks.
holding this after looking at his label, I feel like a better person.
Again,
Good
as
color, a
clear
little hazy.
I think
clear.
this is very, very clean.
Yeah, I mean, not much hazy. Like between.
Go like this.
Oh,
Yes. Twist.
Sorry.
Pull down and twist to the side.
you keep it
There
confused
you
the
go.
condensation. For
sorry.
us.
Yeah. Very clear beer.
Oh, this smells so good too.
Ooh,
Man, that smells good.
That's noise.
Yeah.
So
A little mango-ish.
mango is what I get on this one.
Oh,
Like juicy mango, yeah.
We're getting Timmy up to date, Mister. I
Timmy's
had a
got Timmy's
pineapple
got a
randomly
buzz.
with my sandwich.
Yeah. Did you eat mango today for lunch?
I
Is that
did not.
as well?
I did not.
We know Timmy's got a buzz when Timmy refers to himself in the third person.
This is crystal clear.
It
Yes.
is very clear.
Well, I wouldn't say this is as bright as the last one, but it is.
Yeah, it's getting close.
It's homebrew
It's
bright.
getting close.
My
Homebrew Bright.
yeah, homebrew bright. Yeah,
Yeah, this is brought to you by Homebrew Bright. Cleaning your kegs one at a time.
nice cap of foam, white.
Yes.
I'm not getting a beige color or anything like that, and it sticks around. So
All right.
it looks good. The bottle, again, we've commented on it before. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, very well done there, Trevor.
Hope the beer matches
Trevor's
the
got
bottle.
he's got the full package here. Now let's talk about, you've got the recipe over there, right? So let's try to figure out why Trevor's trying to put us under the table here mid-review.
Yeah, so he went with the higher end of the OG scale. He went with 1063. He did a multi-step mash. I'm not even going to explain that to the two of you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and his 1063 to 1010. Again, that's he put estimated ABV is 7 to 7.5%. I don't have my calculator open, but it is 1063 to 1010 would be in that 7% ish range.
That's what I came up with.
Yeah. IBU is 51, so just a hair higher than what I think the parameters laid out. This is a bottle conditioned beer.
Wow.
Okay,
Which-
so I know what bottle conditioned is, but maybe some of your listeners don't.
Well, allow me to explain to them what
Please.
that means. That it was carbonated in the bottle using sugar as opposed to being force carbonated in a keg.
Oh,
Wow.
I guess I didn't know what bottle condition means.
So bottle conditioning just means that you let the yeast eat more sugar. When they do that, they create carbon dioxide, and if you put it in a pressure sealed vessel, that carbonation will absorb into the liquid.
Oh.
And so this carbonation comes from a natural version as opposed
Trevor,
to.
So the yeast-
Trevor did a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, so the yeast is like a honey badger. It's getting in there.
That's it.
This is the
All the
residual
sugar.
yeast in the beer,
Got
and,
it.
and I want to tell you,
So it's a honey badger brew.
Trevor has more patience and skill than I ever did at bottle conditioning, because I did like 3 bottle conditioned batches in my whole thing, and then I went to kegs.
And like a quarter of the bottom of the bottle
Exactly.
is sludge.
It's sludge. Trevor,
So you're
good
not supposed to-
job on the clarity on this. That's pretty amazing. Very,
That is a good beer too. Wow.
very creamy.
Yes.
Very creamy
is creamy.
mouthfeel.
Full flavored. It coats my entire tongue.
Yeah, it's a little too full flavored.
Really? What is it? This is probably, I don't want to play favorites. Trevor, this is one of my favorites
Don't
so
don't
far.
read anything. I'll tell you what I mean. It's like we kind of had like 2s and 3s on the flavor bomb scale, and Trevor comes out and punches you right in the earlobe
it's so
with the flavor
good.
bomb.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Is it a beer that I could drink 2,
This
3,
is not a
4
beer
of?
I could drink.
Probably not.
And
But
It's
ma-
more IPA
I'm
like.
not. It's
Very
more
much
IPA like,
IPA,
and I don't know how
100%.
Marshall selected the order, but I would have maybe started with.
Well, I didn't look at. I randomly selected the
Right.
order. I should have
This
said that up
doesn't
front.
taste
Yeah.
anything like anything we've had.
No,
Yeah.
it is.
Like
it is-
if I were on an afternoon like this, not doing beer reviews, if we were just out drinking, I would have ordered this first, just because of the.
But I would have ordered more than one of these. That is
You
my.
can tell
that's
this will
true.
light your world up. You have a few of them.
Yes.
This is it's so you. Paul did the calculation.
drinking it, though.
It is 7% ABV.
7% ABV.
If I'm mad at my wife and kids, I'm having a 6-pack of these. If I'm not, I may be starting out with
You might
our
be mad
onesie
at
or
yourself
twosies.
if you're
Yeah.
having a 6.
I love this. Oh, it's so good. You know what it reminds me of, and I love this beer. It tastes like Union Jack to me. You know when you
Oh,
drink
the Union
Oh,
I
yeah,
can
yes,
see that.
yes.
You know when you
Yes.
drink Union Jack from Firestone Walker, which I know a lot of people
Is
don't have
a-
access to, it coats your entire mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
and
It
that's what I
100%
like.
does.
But that's a
Yeah.
beer you got to
I
be
like it.
prepared for. I feel like you didn't prepare us for this. You're
I-
like, hey guys,
I wasn't prepared for it.
we're
Justin.
drinking pale
We were not
ales, and all of
prepared
a
for
sudden you punch us in the throat with a gorgeous beer bottle.
This is definitely a no. I'm going to cheers you while you chug it. No, I'll drink yours. You
am
poured
not.
in mine. Yeah, Timmy's giving me his.
I think
he's
the
struggling
people
with
in
that one.
Auburndale, Massachusetts, have it going on.
Oh, that beer is so good. From the aroma, flavor, and mouthfeel, everything about it is so good. I love it. A little bit about his recipe. He used 91% two-row pale malt, 6% flaked oats, 2% caramel 80. So he went a little bit outside of the 40 to 60, but I feel like it works. And I think that's what we're picking up in the full flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you get a little bit, the darker it gets, you get a little bit more of those like burnt caramel flavors and that. And then about 1.5% wheat malt. He stuck to the, I don't know if he dry hopped it or not. He didn't include that, but he stuck to the kettle hopping edition schedule. So.
You know what I taste a lot of in that beer? Pride of workmanships.
You might be tasting my pride in Trevor as a Brew Club member. This beer is really, really good. I would have called it an IPA, but
again, just because it's not maybe my favorite, excuse me,
This guy takes
my
pride
favorite type of a
in his
beer. You could tell that Trevor knows what he's doing when it comes from presentation to mouthfeel to overall beer. I mean, I'm in no rhyme or reason a bellwether here. It's a good beer based on his knowledge of what he's doing. Dude's good. He's a maestro.
Next time you find yourself in Auburndale, Massachusetts, just go out on the town square and start shouting, Trevor.
Trevor!
Trevor Mack.
where is Trevor Mack? It's just a big
Trevor
sign.
Mack?
Yeah. Bring me Trevor Mack.
So I've been asking this every time.
Well, he's hiding. He's in the car in the yard.
in the car. Yeah,
in the
pack
yard.
the car and have it. Yeah. I wonder if Bostonians get annoyed with us Californians faking their accents. Yeah, I guarantee they do. But they talk like this. They're like, "What's up, man?" Blah. That's
But it's only
California.
because they want to be San Francisco.
It's gnarly.
I'm going to get my VW bus and we're going to ride and just feel.
One of them told me I was talking to somebody from Boston.
One of them.
And one of them, I know. One of those people. I was talking to this gal and she was super cool and she was doing all of the accents I was asking her, but then she goes, "Now you do your California accent." And I was like, I don't have one. And she goes, "No, just talk, because that's what you're asking me to do." And I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, right. Wait, when you go somewhere, you're like, "Oh, you're from like South America. Talk funny."
Yeah.
They're like, "Okay, you talk." I'm like, "Why? I don't have an accent."
They're like, "You're the one who sounds
Like, yeah,
funny
you
here."
idiot.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
you do.
weirdo.
But what she told me that I thought was interesting was that California is marked by hard R's. So we do our R's very pronounced.
What are we, pirates?
Pirates.
Yeah. Arr, welcome to the West Coast, matey.
Whereas on the in certain areas of the East Coast, like Boston, they don't really. It's or whatever. I thought it was interesting at the
Have a
very
car
least.
in the yard.
Yeah, I love that beer. Trevor, I would order that beer multiple times if it was at a local pub. That's my jam. But I would call it an IPA, not a pale ale.
100%.
Well, let's really wreck Trevor's day. I mean, is this a Boston clam chowder or a New England clam chowder type of a beer to go with, or a 50-50?
I have to ask about the rap going on.
This one is from this next beer that we're doing is from Daniel Waldrop, and all it is, Tim, is it's a wrap with it. This is a common thing. You put it in a baggie so it doesn't the
I
condensation.
did not
doesn't
see the
kill it.
label
Yeah,
before.
so you can pour your own. Be careful. There might be stuff on the bottom there, Tim. Again, this one comes from Daniel Waldrop from Carbondale, Illinois. The packaging, the bottle was perfectly filled. It was capped nicely. We've got carbonation, so there was no leaks. But he did put just a little printout in a normal sandwich baggie and taped it to the side of the.
Carbondale, Illinois, down by the
like
Garden
it.
of the Gods.
Do you
Not
know where
spud.
that's at?
Oh, yeah, I do. I've climbed near there.
Yeah. Okay, so Paul is a rock climber. He loves that more than he loves pretty much anything
There's
else.
literally no
Yes.
mountains in Illinois.
It's Illinois.
Illinois.
There's no.
And
There's
down
no
in
Illinois
southern,
has
southern
no
Illinois,
mountains.
it's an interesting climbing area. We're not going to get into that.
Would
but
you climb the Big Bean in Chicago too?
I feel like that might be possible, actually.
Is it? It's very slippery.
Yeah, it's very slippery. Only when wet. Slippery when wet.
What our favorite listeners out there didn't see was me and Justin.
Yeah.
It is a hard. It's a hard stare. We're
Get a
staring
room.
into Tuesday.
A little
Saturday.
bit of information. Okay, a little info about this beer here. This is a 5.9% ABV pale ale. That's right towards the kind of higher end of the ABV for a
No
pale ale.
legs.
Definitely, no legs means lower alcohol, which is about 5.9% you'd expect. Good foam on it. I get a little bit more beige in the foam and the color of this one than I have past ones. Beautiful color, looks just like Sierra Nevada. It's weird because the first beer we drank is the only one that hasn't looked like these ones.
Yeah.
So these are all having the same color.
I feel like the first beer kind of like set a false tone for what to be looking for.
Yeah. So it's so funny because I was completely under the impression, I had not read any of these notes that the brewer sent to me ahead of time. It sounds like the good majority of people did not abide by the average brew parameters.
I love the brew club.
So
Keep it up, brew club.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Rules are
Clearly.
not cool.
I guess. I think it'd be fun if people did, but this one, Daniel says it was brewed with pale 2-row white wheat, Centennial, and Talus. So it doesn't sound like he used Citra. It doesn't sound like he used Cascade.
Sounds like Daniel was looking to get rid of some hops from the freezer.
Possibly. Also, yeah, exactly. But we love Talus. That's
We
one of the
love
ones
Talus.
we love. Yeah.
All right, let me ask
screw it.
this: is some of them, when you've kind of shaken a little bit, you see a lot more of the bubbles. This one doesn't have too many bubbles. What's causing that? Don't
Lack
say
of
something.
bubbles.
Your lack of skill at shaking the glass.
I feel like I could jiggle it good. I mean,
I feel like earlier in the day,
Little
the more
more.
my hands. Oh, it's a good thing.
What's weird to me is that the foam on it is a little bit more beige than past ones. Maybe I'm just seeing it wrong, but he does not give much. He doesn't give any other information. In
Nope.
fact, he says that it was brewed at Dan's shop house.
Dan is a man of few words. What? Excuse me. I don't know Daniel. So if
Waldrop?
you go by Dan, sorry, I
He
called
does.
you Dan.
He calls his
Ooh,
brewery
this
Dan's
is good.
shop
Okay,
house.
so Dan,
This
it's
is good.
Clearly, you are a man of few words, and let
Maybe
your
it's
work
because
speak for
he's
itself.
sending it into a review show to review, and if he gives us all the
A little
notes,
smoky.
Smoky. I get no smoke off of this.
really, I'm with Timmy. I feel like this is it was brewed out by a barbecue.
Really? Do you get that too?
I get a little bit of that, but it's I know why, and it's me, which is
You smoked a whole bunch of weed
I smoked
beforehand.
a whole bunch. No, we've had how many beer? What are we like 6?
This is, I think, number 8.
Number 8, yeah,
it's
beer number 8.
yeah.
So after the beer that we just had, which was a very different
all right.
type of beer, for me personally, I my palate becomes less reliable in terms of the accuracy.
Well, there's always going to be that. That was the whole
It's-
palate fatigue thing we were talking
This
about
is like
earlier.
if you made some good quality toast and then you threw it in a smoker for 15
Let me
minutes.
see that. Let me see that malt
the
bill
more
again.
take more drinks, and it's changing.
So this is weird. We love Talus. We've done Talus in the Hop Chronicles, and it was very like ripe orange, is what I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
and
yes.
it was so good that Brad
Orange
started
marmalade.
Orange marmalade. And
Orange marmalade.
And that is what.
I'm getting the orange peel-ish.
But I'm also getting a weird minty thing on it.
Yes.
Like in the finish, it's like minty. Like my mouth is cool.
Yeah.
So
Are you getting that too, Tim?
when you get an old fashioned,
My mouth is so cool.
It like cold. I think the coolest mouth of all
I
of
got
you.
the coolest
Yeah.
mouth of all
so
of
have you had those fancy smoked cocktails where they put the unnecessary
yeah, a
stuff?
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
And then you take the orange rind and you kind of twist it up and then put it around the rim of the glass. That's what I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
with
I'm
this.
getting no smoke whatsoever.
Well, you're new to this.
yeah,
Give it
no,
time.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm getting no smoke. It tastes
It is
like
Go ahead.
I get it. Sorry for cutting you off. I do get a little bit of oxidation character.
A little bit.
The bitterness.
My first thing I said was a little metallic-y.
So I think you mistake bitterness, sharp bitterness, for metallic, which
And
makes sense.
And
because
juniper.
What I think
He has not said juniper once. You introduced
Or
that.
do you mistake?
What I think is going
Could
like
be.
for me personally is again when I go through a bunch of particularly hoppy beers, this has got no every time I'm going to say something about what I think it's got, I look at the malt bill thinking I'm going to see crystal in it, and there's no crystal in it.
There is if there's no crystal, then it is oxidized because this is dark. This
is dark.
looks like a Sierra Nevada Pale
Like
Ale.
I said, I wanted to say if I've been drinking pretty clean beers and then I go to something with more crystal malt in it, more of the caramel malts in it, I will get that smoky, sweet.
I can
will
see
get
that. This beer stays around a little longer on the tongue.
The minty thing is so weird to me. My mouth is. I feel like
I'm not getting any mint.
Your mouth isn't cool after you drink and like breathe out of your mouth. You don't get a little
I
bit
can
of a
see it.
coolness.
I would not. I
okay.
would not. I would not have been able to put the
little bit,
words
yeah,
to
see,
it.
Don't make it up, but that's what I get. I get
Without
this, like,
you
minty-
saying that, I would not have
Not
said that.
an overpowering mint, but just like a hint of
That's
mint.
right. Just like you spit out gum 10 minutes ago, and it's still lingering in your mouth. That's what I
Yeah,
get.
okay.
Yeah, I get that from Northern Brewer hops, actually.
I learned so much. Like,
Just right
part
now.
of my struggle is like, okay, I kind of have an idea on what I'm tasting, but it's not what I'm supposed to say.
You don't have the words, the vocabulary. I don't.
Fair.
Yeah, it's got that overly caramel sweet oxidized thing.
Yeah.
I think, and that may again, I take the blame for not doing organizing this ahead of time early.
Damn
on.
it, Marshall.
These have been in my fridge for 3 weeks. So
Hey, the other thing that I've found for me, and it's hard, it's difficult, or it's for me personally with beer reviews, is when we do difficulting. I have difficulting. I have beer as a full beer, right? It's the full package as opposed to parsing out aroma and mouthfeel and.
Yeah, I don't want to come across. I mean, I'm so thankful that you have people that care about our opinions. That put this
nobody
type of
actually
effort-
cares.
No
They're
one cares.
interested.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen one review that says otherwise, and I don't want to come across as overly anything negative, right? I mean, it takes a lot to put your heart and soul and time into these things, and again, I'm just a beer knucklehead.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I think what you're trying to do is honor the fact that the people who sent these to us put work into it.
1,000%. Like if
100%,
if I do something
Yeah.
barbecue wise, I'm like, guys, try this out. But I don't want anybody to be discouraged or anything just because I don't think it's maybe a 10.
No, so I will say this, that every beer we've had so far, and we can't speak for the next, 3 or 4, but every beer we've had so far are solid beers that you take to a homebrew club and they're going to be probably better than most.
For sure.
That last one had a little bit of, it had some stuff going on that maybe was due to shipping. It was due to packaging. And again, kudos to the guys who are brave enough really to
Taking
send,
absolutely
you know what I'm
brave
saying?
is the word.
They're courageous enough to go and package their beer, which one you package your beer and you ship it. And then you trust me to store it properly, and then I store it for 3 to 4 weeks. There's a lot that can go wrong in that may have nothing to do with how you actually brewed the beer. So kudos to everybody.
Thank
That last
you.
beer was good, and I get what you're saying, Justin.
Yeah.
We start to feel bad, but
I'm gracious and appreciative that
No.
people do this.
and I think that's rad. This next beer comes from, let's see, that last one was from Daniel Waldrop. This next one comes from Doug Walker.
Southern California Doug.
He's SoCal, yeah?
SoCal Doug? SoCal Doug?
Did he
SoCal
just say SoCal, or did he say
I'm
where he's
reading
actually
his
from?
label. I was reading his label.
Okay,
He
can
puts it
we
where it comes
can we
from.
talk about his packaging?
He's from Redlands, California.
Redlands, California.
So his packaging is a little bit different. Actually, I feel like I'm in New Zealand. In New Zealand and Australia, this is very common.
Oh, is it?
The PET bottles, yes.
I feel like I want to send these back to Doug so he can continue
Reuse
sharing
them.
his beer.
Yeah. I will tell you this. This is a big aside, but there's this big fear that if you use plastic packaging, oxygen ingress is a much bigger issue. So oxygen getting in through the packaging, because it's more porous than glass or aluminum in the case of cans, that it will become an issue. This is the second palest beer that we've had today.
Yes.
Easily.
So I will say, I've not smelled it or tasted it yet, but I will already say that the packaging, I don't think, is an issue here. Now, they do look like we went to the store and grabbed some Gatorades or something.
Yes.
Well, I thought you had
Yeah.
like
Oh,
20
Marshall.
ounce Coke bottles.
I'm
for-
actually gonna take these bottles with me when I leave.
Yeah, you can have them.
So I mean, he is prone to earthquakes down in Redlands, so maybe it's
so
just a
the
safety
plastic
thing.
bottle, yeah.
You can't have a whole rack of glass
Yeah.
bottles down there.
Yeah. Also, these things can hold massive amounts of pressure. It's amazing. So if you have an infection with one of these, you
Under
can
pressure.
Yeah. All right. So let's see a little bit about this. A little bit about Doug's batch here. He calls it the comb over.
I like it.
An American Pale Orange. Did he add
With a
orange?
hint of orange. That's what it says on here.
So
American
he
Pale Ale with a hint of orange.
Okay, let's look. So he's going off the rails on it as well.
Yes, Doug.
We love the Brew Club. These guys don't give a crap about rules. Let's see. 83% pale 2-row, 8% white wheat malt. He went with the flaked oats. He did 4% flaked oats and 2% caramel 60. The other 4% was just rice hulls, which don't really calculate into your AB or your OG or stuff. Let's see.
Okay, so stop. Look
Yep.
at this up in the light. Do you see all the bubbles? The last couple beers haven't had that many bubbles. Is that a packaging thing? Is that a?
I have never known anybody to care this much about bubbles.
I'm
honestly.
just asking.
Do you like that
I'm
one?
trying to
Is that a
tell you.
Mel Torme song, the Tiny Bubbles?
Tiny bubbles.
Tiny Bubbles.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fight you. You're forcing me to fight you after the deal.
Just let me pee first.
Okay, fair.
Slap fest.
We are we are on beer
We are
number
now
9.
off the rails. It only took 9. Thanks,
will-
Doug.
we will
Thank you,
continue.
Doug, for sending us off the rails.
He did use it looks like he abided by the rules for all the hop stuff and
dude
then
abides.
as well as the yeast. And I'm looking for it. Here we go. Here's the fun part. So 15 minutes left in the boil. He added a half an ounce, so about 14 grams of sweet orange peel.
That a baby Doug. A lot of oranges down in Redlands.
Is there really?
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of Redlands. And
You know where Rancho
where-
Cucamonga is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Down there.
It is where
okay.
it is, and
Inland
I-
Empire.
Maybe Doug even works for this company. It's where the Geographic Information Systems digital
Nobody
mapping.
normal
Oh,
works
no.
for that
Nobody
company.
normal knows it except for people in
Yeah, you
My line of
people,
work.
engineers.
yeah, Geographic. Yeah, Redlands, California.
So I wonder what inspired him to do that. I wonder if it was a hop schedule that the Brew Club laid out, or
Maybe
but-
oranges are vitamin C, and he's helping people try to avoid COVID.
Or
So-
he's just got a shitload of oranges.
So I will say,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, a shitload of. I will say this though, this is the second palest beer
Very
after
clear.
the very first one. It's not. I'm getting
not
a.
clear.
I'm
It's
getting.
not- yeah,
It's not hazy.
Looks
by
like
any-
my beer.
It looks like normal homebrew
Yep,
clear.
looks like my
This
beer.
is good. I mean, it's a good beer. It's bright, refreshing.
It's very refreshing. Is
refreshing.
what I get.
but
Very-
very
not a lot of
refreshing.
mouthfeel. It feels like it hits and goes away really, really fast.
And so he did a. It looks like he's. Oh, that's fermentation. This is a very. I've never seen a printout like this. So, regardless, I will say that it is very refreshing, and I can't help but wonder. I don't pick up much orange peel. in it.
I don't at all.
None.
Remember that one time I made that pale ale with orange juice, and you
hated it. Yeah,
we all hated it.
it was so bitter.
Well,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
was so
I think
nasty.
you
terrible.
made that in a crock pot. That was part of the
Well,
problem.
I was trying to take inspiration from a Lagunitas beer, and
good beer.
And so it was citrus anise, which they use with blood oranges, and so I did the same thing. And it just, after we talked about it, Marshall was like, it's pure sugar, and what do you left behind when you ferment out all the sweetness from oranges? It's bitter orange peel.
Duh.
It was the bitterest beer I've ever made.
It was very bitter.
It was terrible.
But so here's what I'm wondering with this beer, though. So I get very little classic orange character.
This tastes nothing like anything we've had thus far.
But I wonder if the orange didn't contribute something that, when melded with all of the other normal stuff,
Brought it down.
brought the orange character down, but added something meaningful, anyways. Because it's
I really
very
like
good.
this.
It's good.
I
I really like
love
this
this
beer.
beer.
Yeah, this
I
is
really
a
like it.
this is a poolside beer.
I didn't like it right at first, and it maybe because the other beer was still. But the more I drink it, I
Yeah.
do like it.
It is.
It does
so good.
It does. The more I have of it, the orange peel did. It
I'm not
added
getting orange
something.
peel, but it
And
is
so
a nice,
I would say this.
Nice tasting
I would.
beer.
My question for Doug would be this: have you done that before and had the same result? And when this idea came up for this, oh yeah, I'm going to put some. It's
clean.
Screw those guys.
That's what I was wondering too.
I'm going to put
Yeah.
some orange peel in there.
It's super clean,
clean.
Tim. I agree with you. And it also has this fullness of flavor. Kind
Yes.
of, I think it was 2 beers ago, where it's like this ineffable kind of hard to describe fullness that I get with some beers. And this one has it. And it's very good.
Very good.
But I wonder if he only used a half ounce. That's that's
in
nothing.
5 gallons.
In 5 gallons,
it's
yeah.
nothing. It's
But-
it's really nothing.
Well,
So, that's one of those things like, I did it, but it doesn't really do much.
I don't know. I've
It's
I've
hard
used,
to-
yeah.
I would be interested to hear from Doug and
So would
whether
I.
whether you've done this before.
Now I'm the king of asking stupid questions. Could his
I can't wait to Doug's at, he said, he's like, I haven't done any of that before.
Yeah. It was just
Right?
an idea, right?
An idea. Jesus.
so his bottling completely different, right? Nobody else has done the plastic bottles.
yeah.
Does that change any of the flavor characteristics as it sits?
No. I
No.
mean,
Only in the pack, only as we talked about with packaging, how you put from the keg, or how you put it in the bottle, and then how quick we drink it after that.
for oxidation purposes.
For oxidation
yeah.
purposes.
So again, arguably, it could be that what people have argued with PET bottles like this before. Now, just for our listeners, these are they look like 2-liter bottles that are amber colored, like normal beer bottle color, that are like half the size. They look like 1 liter amber.
Well, they're your
40s.
20 ounce, 20 ounce
like
Coca-Cola.
20s, yeah.
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 20 ounce
right.
Coca-Colas
You
you
need
can get
hands.
like at a liquor store.
That's what it looks like. Exactly. But they are PET. And so one of the big concerns is that the oxygen ingress is big. I've always questioned that. And after going to Australia and New Zealand, I don't believe it at all.
Is one more earth friendly?
They sell these in the stores there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the fact that he's using these and that it's not oxidized at all. Do you get any oxidation character? I get no sweetness. I get no cardboard. Yeah.
What?
No, none. None.
Yeah, is there one more
That is a
earth
great
friendly
question, by
than
the
the
way.
other?
About which ones
No,
might
it's
which one
this
might be.
episode.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is one more
These are lighter.
recyclable
These are
or
lighter
better for the earth?
These are lighter weight. But anyway, there's a
Yeah,
whole, we're not going to.
Especially with Paul here, plastics are actually worse than glass. Yes.
Perfect. Let's use
In
plastics.
some
then.
ways, only because Paul's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Only because Paul.
Let's throw as many straws in the ocean as
what
possible.
Justin will do is drive down the roads here in Fresno and set plastic bottles aflame and throw them out the window.
Accurate. Well,
They're called
because I want
Molotov
to use.
cocktails.
They're called Molotov
Yeah,
cocktails, but he
yeah.
only uses plastic. He told me that's his trademark.
Well, yeah, they burn better. And two, I want to use up all the carbon credits you're not using.
Yeah, that's right. Here in California. So, if you ordered this beer, if you were courageous enough to order a American Pale Ale at I'm kind of talking to Tim. I'm looking at Justin, but at a brewery, and this came out, would you order another one? Would you turn?
I would.
Especially if it's called comb over.
Yeah, the comb over. Yeah, I feel like it is remarkably good.
This is really good.
Because
But
it was very clean. I liked it.
And I think the part that's confusing me a little bit is that I don't taste the orange, but there's
Not at all.
something more to this. And it makes me wonder if using just a tiny little whisper of sweet orange peel, which, by the way, most people... No, I'll drink the... Thanks, Paul. I thought you were trying to serve me more. Most people use bitter orange in brewing. They use bitter orange peel. Now, you can use sweet orange, and that is what you get in your...
Bitter orange peel.
Yeah. So most oranges that exist in the world are not... You don't eat them. They're used for other purposes. The Valencias and all that, the sweet oranges
Yeah.
are for consuming all that stuff. It's the bitter orange peel that works. You get the most orangey character when you're using the peel for it in your brewing. I just read this, no joke, last week. Now here's the thing: you take something like a Blue Moon. Apparently they use sweet orange peel, so it gives more of that Fruity Pebbles character. I don't get that in this, and this was sweet orange peel. So that's part of what's confusing me about Doug's beer.
If anybody's out there, they should try the Satsuma oranges. I'm not making that name
Those
up.
aren't oranges; they're tangerines. But yes, we'll
Satsumas?
are tangerines. Yes, they're a type of tangerine called satsumas. Yeah,
Come on, Justin.
Wrong.
we live in the Central Valley where like 90% of the world's satsumas are grown.
Wrong.
You disagree with me.
I completely disagree with you.
I love you, Justin. I could be wrong. I will admit that I could possibly be wrong. There's like 3 names: mandarins, satsumas, and tangerines are all the same thing, right?
I'm wrong.
Which means what?
Marshall is right.
Is right. I only
Can
because
someone brew with Satsumas?
I guarantee it's been done.
Well, we should do it again.
I
And send one
guarantee there
here.
will be somebody who's listening to this episode right now who's going to email me. I hope you do, telling us that they've brewed a beer with satsumas.
We need Plastic California to do Satsumas because they're much easier gotten for him. And send up some plastic Satsumas.
This beer, I'm looking at it now.
This one's sexy.
It's so I got the bottom of the bottle because Paul's pouring and he doesn't know
Look
how
at
to
that,
pour a
Marshall.
beer.
Look at that, though.
Yeah, yours is beautiful.
Well,
Mine's,
hold
I'm
on.
going to drink some of yours.
Let's take a step back. Satsuma is a mandarin orange.
Well, okay. I don't want to get into the orange argument.
Turns out Justin's right.
Okay,
It's a mandarin.
I'm wrong. You're right.
And based on the amount of beers that we've had, you had me double guessing myself here.
No, I didn't mean to make you double guess yourself, Justin. But we do have to move on to the next beer. So this next one is this one comes from. I hope I say this right. His name is Derek Saint Jean,
Jean.
and he's from I don't know if I'm going to say this right either. Rindge, New Hampshire. Rindge.
Oh, it's Roush. Because that's how they say everything up there in
Ring.
Mass.
It's in Ring.
Ringe, New Hampshire. He says that the recipe is on the back of the label of the bottle. How did the bottle look on this one?
Oh, it's great.
You didn't share it with any of us.
You didn't share it with us, Paul. Mr.
I put it
Poor-
away. I was hiding up. Look at that.
That's a nice bottle.
Look at
One
that.
of the
Looky,
nicer
looky.
bottles.
It is
Yes.
awesome.
So why don't you hold on to that? You can take a look at the recipe. I'm going to read a little bit on this.
You know why
Do you
I
have
like
readers?
it? It says American
I don't have
Pale Ale.
readers on.
Yeah. It's also, I believe that they're going to start making labels that people can print off and put on their bottles.
that's
of
great.
this.
Oh, what a good idea.
So a little bit of what Derek said. Derek said, I tried to do as many things I don't normally do for this brew in the spirit of brewlosophy. I mean, that's how I normally brew, so whatever. I brewed 3 gallons instead of 5, so it's a 3-gallon batch. I usually batch sparge, but I did a full volume brew in a bag. I had a more complicated hop schedule than usual. I opted to not use flaked oats, but I usually use them. That's funny because it was allowed in this one. He says, I opted to not use them, but I usually use them in pale ales, not New England IPAs or hazy IPAs. I used a glass fermenter instead of my usual buckets, and I kegged 1 gallon and used carb drops to carbonate. Ooh. So this is another bottle conditioned beer. I'm glad we poured it properly. My 3-year-old helped me brew, which was a lot of fun. Why don't you tell us a little bit? It's on the bottle. Paul, I know your eye is terrible.
My arm isn't long enough to read
Okay,
this.
I'll read it.
It is very, very small print. It is very small
I thought
print.
you were handing it to me.
This is
to hold. Yeah.
this is my speed, actually. I can read this perfectly.
I cannot.
So I don't know what's wrong. My mom and dad both had awful vision, and I can see everything. It's nuts. So here we go. So the vitals, the OG on this one is 1051. The final gravity is 1012 for an ABU of, he did not put that on there. All right. So IBU is 45. So kind of
1053.
1051 to 1012. You can look that up. I think that I think it's like 5.5%. Yeah. IBU. Oh, here we go. IBU is 45. Let's see. The color is 6.8, around 7 SRM. That is what it looks like. He mashed at 152 for 60 minutes. All right, here we go. 77%. You're right, Paul.
I know I'm right.
You've been doing this for so long. 5.1% ABV. So let's see. He
Nice
used
job.
77% 2-row pale malt. He used 15% white wheat and 8% caramel 40.
Very sexy.
It is a beautiful
Golden,
beer.
Golden
It is a
right
beautiful beer.
It's also bottle conditioned, and why my beer looks worse than the 3 of yours because I got the bottom of the bottle. Let's see. For the hops, he followed the rules. He used Magnum, a very small amount, 19 IBU of Magnum at 60. He used a blend of Centennial and Cascade at 15. It's weird because when I see mid boil, I think 30 minutes, but a lot of people are using it 15. He did Cascade, Centennial, and Citra at for a hop stand, and then Cascade and Citra in the dry hop. So fermented with Brine 97.
This looks good. It tastes thicker. That's probably from the Magnum
It
aspect
tastes thicker.
of it. It's just
Okay.
it just has. I mean, when I say thick, like the viscosity.
What do you think, Tim? You're kind of cringing over there. What do you think?
It's got a different
Bitter.
a different bitter right in your face.
Yep. And it's that 19 IBU 60-minute edition. That's
What-
what
but-
what is quite a bit different.
But here's the thing. So I've not tasted it. I'm smelling it. It smells exactly like the majority of the beers we've drank
Yes,
today.
it does.
Which is
It doesn't
overripe.
taste like anything though.
So I'm going to taste it here in a sec, but I'm getting that overripe tropical fruit pineapple thing on toast.
Yes.
And the aroma,
Absolutely.
right? Now, for the flavor, here we go. See, I like that bitterness. That's my jam.
Yeah. It's got that.
Do you like it?
I do.
So,
I do.
so you don't. I get what you're saying. I also get minty with this as well. It's just
Where
like the last
are you
beer.
coming from with this minty?
I think it's the Magnum that's doing
Oh, take the gum out of your
because it's
mouth.
not necessarily.
it's the Trident.
I think it's the Magnum. Because none of those other ones really, with the exception, I don't think any of the other ones really I've ever had mint even in the description for any of the other hops.
It could be that it's like washing the character, like the flavor of the other hops off of my palate for some whatever reason, and that what I'm picking up is so clean that my mouth feels fresh. I'm trying to but I get a slight, very subtle mintiness at the finish.
I'm getting like a big wave of bitter citrus.
This isn't the one made with sweet orange peel.
No,
I
it's not.
understand. Yeah.
But again,
Maybe that's why I'm
I
getting
can't
it.
remember
Could
some
be.
of the other ones, but I don't remember having such a big hop edition for first word or 60-minute yet.
I don't feel like the bitterness is getting in the way of this beer at all.
I don't feel like it's getting in the way. It's the aftertaste for me. It's on the back of my palate, the upper back of my palate, where
Weird.
More bitter beers for me. That's where they land.
So I
And an
get that.
aftertaste.
I get it as well. I get on the finish, and you swallow and you wait for 30 seconds, and it's still there. I get that. I get that.
Yep.
I don't mind it.
I didn't say I minded it one way or the other, but I just said that's what I get.
So what do you think of this beer then, Paul?
I think I like it. I like it because I like this style of beer.
So do I. And but I feel like that's because you and I have been drinking craft beer since the early 2000s.
Well, early or mid 90s.
I mean, you're older than me. Yes.
You were drinking craft beer before it was cool. It's like, you kind of hit 40, you have to pick one of two lanes, right? You smoke meats or you get into craft beers.
or you smoke other things.
Or you smoke other things, and you did
or you just
two
smoke
of the
other
three.
things your whole life, and then
Yeah, you started at 15. So
I actually did. I have to admit.
Nancy Reagan is rolling in her grave.
Oh my God, we're not going to get into this dumb argument. Yeah, rolling doobies in her grave. Rolling doobies in her grave. Yeah. I feel like Derek did a good job on this beer. What I appreciate about this beer is that I feel like it's kind of a throwback to the old days of bitter pale ale.
It really is.
What's
they're-
that? Like that Dave's pale that can.
Yeah, that's
Oscar.
Oscar Blues. Yeah, that's Oscar
Yeah,
Blues.
that kind of reminds me a little bit of this.
That's a phenomenal beer.
And it is.
It is phenomenal.
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 Yeah.
Admirable.
So good job, Derek. So Tim, you haven't said much about this beer. You go to a bar, you're like, there's a pale ale.
I mean, I guess if I ordered one, I would drink it again, maybe. And you took mine, so
You handed it to me. I didn't want this hazy version that Paul poured me.
yeah, it
over
was
here.
pretty hazy there.
So you okay? I have a feeling I know. Do you get a little bit of metallic on this one?
100%.
So I've been trying to figure you out for years now. I'm
Good luck.
almost certain pine with bitter equals juniper for you, and that bitter without pine, which I don't get very much pine in this at all, is metallic for you.
I haven't got any juniper in any of these.
Yeah, which is surprising to me. Maybe that's just a thing with more floral IPA.
Yeah.
Well, and he's learned.
Yeah, he is a very learned man. We know this.
There we go.
So I think Derek did a good job. Now we are moving on to our last beer. We got 11 beers for this review. This one comes from Ryan Mack. Hey, I need the write up so I can read some stuff in the baggie. Yeah. So this one comes from Ryan Mack. I will say that these bottles, Ryan, I love you, brother. These bottles look like you don't care.
Show me the bottle.
That is certainly the impression.
me
That
the
is
bottle.
certainly the impression I got.
Yes.
Which
Didn't
I
even
have to-
bother washing the old bottle.
That's right. Didn't scrape them. Whatever.
I feel
The
like,
outside.
that
I'm
that
sure the
song,
inside is very clean.
that song Cleo Williams had to reach through the cellar.
Yeah.
Might be a little dust on this bottle, but it's going to be good.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't
It
even
might be.
A little dust on the bottle.
he didn't even use blue painter's tape.
Yeah, no, he actually could stick the label onto the stuff that was left over after he took the labels off. But you know what? I've done the same. I've actually entered competitions with bottles that look
it
just
looks
like this,
good.
and I've done
Look at
well.
that.
He
Yeah.
doesn't care because he's focused
Oh
on
my
all the
God.
beer itself.
And you know what? That's what I'm hoping the
Look how
case
clear
is.
that is.
Kudos.
Now, I will say I'm almost certain that Ryan has sent in beers for you guys to review before, and that they were really good. So,
The color is incredible.
this-
I'm excited.
mind you, a little reminder, boys, that I did not the order of this was completely random. It was whatever I grabbed out of my fridge. I typed into my phone as the order.
By random, do you mean at will?
Yeah, by random I mean it was purposeful. This is the clearest beer that we've seen today.
That's
without
a
a
sexy
doubt.
looking beer.
It rides the line between the lightest and the kind of the medium
Color.
It's beautiful.
It's summer in a glass.
The foam quality, it's probably a little bit lower foam than I'm used to, but that could be the pour. I don't know.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of foam on mine.
I'm drinking out of a different glass than
Gosh,
you guys.
Paul, is this your first time drinking beers?
Yeah, pouring beers at least, yeah.
Hey, give me something like that, and I'll
That's
screw it up.
good.
That's all I gotta
It
say.
smells phenomenal. Again, I'm almost certain Ryan has sent us beers for you guys to review in the past.
Ryan clearly cares.
Yeah. Well, not
Aside
about
from-
not about his bottles.
Ryan focuses on the right side of brewing.
I had
Hot
Let's just say
damn,
that.
Ryan.
I had this idea last night with Laura and I. I went out daddy-daughter dance last night at the kids' school, and I went out and I had this
miss those,
idea
Tim.
that Brulosophy should make shirts with just random sayings on it that nobody understands, but it would be clever enough to where that was with you.
We talked about
That's
that.
what it was. Yeah,
We talked about that
what's his
Thursday
name?
night.
Don't explain it, but what was the name that we're gonna put on there?
Oh, Randy Hoffman.
Randy Hoffman. And
And
would
Randy,
just
if
be-
you're listening
it
out
would-
there, it's Randy Hoffman.
It's Randy Hoffman. This one, I feel like we could do that with this because it just smells and tastes so good. We just put Ryan Mack.
Dude, Daddy Mac bringing the Flavor Town.
This is good.
Yeah, Ryan Mack is the mayor of Flavor Town.
Let's talk about the way it looks first before we really dig into this.
Good.
Yeah, did
Looks
we already?
good.
Yeah. This is our 11th beer. It's
Good
beautiful.
bubbles.
It's great bubbles. Yeah, it's bubbly, tiny bubbles. Yeah. Also, the aroma on this is about as perfect as it gets for an American Pale Ale. What do you say,
Yes.
Paul? Yeah.
Agreed.
It's like Old Spice and bread. You just feel like you're smelling a man. Is that
I
weird?
have no idea what you're talking about. A 12-year-old man.
Ryan is a hard,
Get your head
cool,
out of my lap.
red-blooded American.
It also tastes pretty
It
good.
tastes amazing.
It's so
I like
clean.
this.
It's so clean. What do you think, Paul?
I haven't actually drank any yet.
Well, I'm going to
good.
jump in here. If
very
Ryan starts selling these in a 6-pack, there's space in my refrigerator for him.
This is so good.
So good.
Yeah. It's easy to say it's good. What do you get from it?
I get a little bit of that mint on this one.
on this one. I get none. Just those last two. I got a little bit of mint, but on this one, it's like normal beer again.
Overripe apricot and bread.
I get apricot for sure, which is so weird. They all use the same hops. So Ryan did send his recipe.
Yeah,
It
I
is-
want to hear this.
Well, it is
little bit.
It is. He followed the rules. We'll put it that way.
Strike one.
55% pale two row, 27% Pilsner malt. So, he did.
Well, there's
follow
the
rules.
apricot.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to use that. My guess is he ran out of two row. 7% Crystal 40, 7% white wheat, and then he used 5% Carapils, which doesn't matter. That's kind of a wash. He hopped with. He got 15 IBU out of Magnum, which he added at 60 minutes, and he used a 1/4 ounce. That is literally like 7 grams. It's nothing. It's just
7 grams will send you to jail.
yeah. Good Lord, not in California. Let's see here. At 30 minutes, so he did the 30-minute thing. He added a 1/2 ounce or about 14 grams of Cascade. And then he did at 10, let's see. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Yeah, no, at 15 minutes, he added 1/2 ounce of Centennial. And then at 10 minutes, boy, he went all out on this. 10-minute hop stand. He did Cascade, Centennial, and Citra. And then he dry hopped with Cascade and Citra. Yeah. He nailed it. And his water chemistry is money. Because
It's very good.
It's so good. Yeah.
This is like Thursday. This is like Thursday evening when you know you're taking off camping on Friday afternoon.
Oh, I wish.
This is like leaving for camping beer.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
handed me that, Paul?
Yeah.
No, I was just
like-
going to say, Ryan, when you send in stuff again, could you print in like 16-point font so I can see?
For all of those who don't
Can
know.
you not be so old?
I can't see.
Yeah. You are the worst
Get
visioned
LASIK.
of all of us. Yeah.
I don't have.
We love you, Paul. We love you, Paul. So
This
What
is
do you-
it's a very, as you were going through, I mean, again,
Yeah.
because I've brewed so much of the Hop Chronicles, this would be a Hop Chronicles hop schedule.
this is solid. Yeah. This to me is the one. It's so funny to me that the Brew Club is like, yes, we follow these rules, and the only one that we got, I don't know if we got one that followed them to a T.
No.
Welcome to the Brew Club.
Nope.
Yeah.
Apricot toast.
So I get apricot too, but like dried apricot, that more pungent version.
Yeah,
of it.
it's not a fresh apricot by any means.
Okay. It's good.
When was the last time you had a fresh dried apricot?
I actually don't like dried fruit at all, even raisins, but I will eat them. And it was probably like a month ago. Yeah.
Dried apricots. You hit the nail on the head on that one.
That was you.
You said that.
I said dried. You said apricots. Now we're arguing in the positive direction. This is stupid, Justin.
This is nice.
So what do you think of this beer, Paul?
I like it. Again, it's right there with everything that I have been drinking beer for my entire beer
I feel
career.
the same way.
Can we have people not only send in beer but send in snacks?
Yeah,
to try
some Doritos.
So I want to
Yeah,
know.
some
I want to know.
chips.
I was looking at.
Go
I was
ahead.
looking at the label here, Mac Brewing, right? And I was trying to figure out why Michigan and Illinois were on here, and then I realized it's Michigan and Chicago
There you go.
because Ryan Mack is in Chicago.
He's in Chicago. Is his last name actually Mac though?
That's the question.
I think it is.
Dude,
yeah.
Chicago has some
As a
great
Midwestern,
bars
as a
to go to,
Midwestern
man.
person transplanted to California, I saw it right away.
As a Californian who's never been to Chicago, I think this.
Oh, you've never
fits
been?
in.
Oh,
never been to
Chicago's
Chicago?
cool, man.
Oh my gosh!
It is a cool. You go to like right around that Miracle Mile area. There is some cool old school like
All
Irish
I want,
bars.
all I want is a Chicago hot dog with the. Remember that beer we had, that Belgian pale ale we had with the. I'm going to say this wrong. Gardenia peppers or whatever.
Was I there?
You've had it twice now.
Okay.
Yes, and it was.
Oh,
that good pepper beer that was not
Yes.
too hot, but that was like
Yes.
salty. I want that on a hot dog.
Yes,
So.
have your friend. Yes, Mac Brewing send some hot dogs.
Gardenia. It's Gardenia. It's got the
Is that the
it's
pepper?
Gardenia.
Gardenia. Okay.
It's the kind of the. It's a pickled.
It's like a pep-
relish
it's like a
sort of
pepper
thing.
relish,
It's
right?
It's
Yeah.
like a pepper relish.
Yeah. It was delicious, whatever
Pepper
it was.
relish.
Well, so what do you guys if you ordered this beer at a bar, would you order another one maybe?
100%, yeah,
100%? I love it.
It's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Together.
absolutely this is a multiple beer.
Yeah. What about you, Paul?
I would.
You down? I would too. I would too. So good job, Ryan. Thanks to everybody who sent their beers, and I cannot express how much we appreciate you guys doing that, because without you doing that, we wouldn't be able to do these fun episodes. And I am really excited.
That was cool.
It was a lot of fun. And
This has proven to me that the Brew Club members are way better brewers than I am.
and a lot of home brewers actually. And that I was going to say the same thing, that we're nice guys. We've tried some beers over the years that are just, you're like, wow, you think this is good? I always chalk it up to shipping, to packaging and shipping. But these, not a
They were
single,
all
Good job.
not a single
they
one
actually were all
was
good.
bad. We
No.
had,
I've
Nothing
tasted some
bad.
bad
There was
beers.
maybe
Nothing
one
bad
weird
today.
one. I'm
well,
kidding.
that was that Belgian one, which I feel like,
Hey,
Well, no, that was that whole. I have chipotle chicken, chow mein, pineapple,
Leftovers.
apricot, mango. Try this. Tell me if it's any good.
well, I will say it's not really in my nature to play favorites. I'm not a big fan of that, but I am curious if any of the beers we drank today stood out to you guys. Do you? Maybe not, and that's fine.
If I had to have multiple beers, I mean, really get after it for the afternoon, it'd probably be the first beer that we had.
yes.
And that's not taken away from anybody else's beer. Maybe
Yes.
it's because the first beer was it wasn't as complex. Correct. It was the most drinkable all day long.
I don't disagree with you, and there's this thing in psychology called the primacy effect and the recency effect.
I was just going through that in my mind.
I figured you might have been. And so the primacy effect is they kind of are paired together. So you tend to remember the first thing you experienced and the last thing. And I hope that doesn't play into this. I do feel like the first beer we had and the last beer we had are two of my favorites, but every single one we had, even the weird ones that I complained about, were still so much better than so many home brews that
you
I've had before.
bookended this
I'm going
completely
with the-
by
I'm going with
accident,
the
but
second
really,
beer.
really good.
Your second one was your favorite.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that I'm going to go back and look who did that so we can give him a little bit of love. That was Scott Singletary brewed that one. Yeah.
I think the most overall complex that you could tell they really,
But they were
really
all-
knew what you were doing.
they're all good.
Was that 3 or 4? He's on the leadership guy.
Oh, Will. Yeah.
Will.
Will Lovell. Yeah. That was
You
a great
could
beer.
tell, like, well, while it wasn't my favorite, you could tell there was a lot of deep activity going on in that
What
one.
I found interesting about drinking all of those beers, and again, this is the Average Brews thing. So when we do the Average Brews review episodes, they will be all the same beer basically. What I found interesting was that there was a good handful of the beers we drank today that I felt shared so many characteristics on the nose that were completely different when you put them in your mouth, right? To me, like, that's what I love about this stuff, is that we get to experience that. We get to play around with that. And the fact that these guys were willing to send these beers out to us fully knowing that we could have ripped them to shreds, kudos to you. You deserve more
Absolutely.
credit than anybody
100%.
else. Also, I would like, since this is the first one, I would like to give credit to the Brew Club leadership for coming up with this idea, because I think it's going to be really cool. And I hope if you are interested in doing this kind of stuff that you go check
Please
them out.
send more. This was awesome.
It's so fun. We will definitely be getting more. They're already taking signups for the next batch, which I'm going to get to here in a second. Now, to reiterate what I said at the top of the show, the 1 minute beer review, as we have known it so far, is no longer a thing. Womp womp. But we will intermittently be dropping episodes, full episodes, where we review listener submitted beers, just like what we did today, but in addition to the Average Brew review series. So we're going to be doing this a little bit more. I think it's going to be fun. There it is, our very first Average Brew review episode. I loved it and cannot wait to do more in the future. If I'm not mistaken, the Brew Club plans to do these things quarterly, and I know they just announced the parameters for Average Brew number 2, which is you guys are going to love this, a New Zealand Pilsner, which is awesome. And one of my favorite styles that's not really a full style, but is kind of a BJCP style now. So you may still have time to get involved anyways. They just announced it recently. You can learn more by visiting thebrewclub.com, which will send you directly to their Facebook group. Again, that's thebrew, B-R-U, club.com. All right, fellas, we've got most of the day ahead of us still. It's only 2:45, and I think I'm about ready to grab another drink. Don't forget to subscribe to the Brew Lab, where host Kay Job takes you into the lab with brewing professionals to discuss the important and fascinating work they've done on our favorite beverage. And make sure to stay hip to everything we are up to at brewlosophy.com. The Brewlosophy podcast is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors, as well as all of our rad listeners. We seriously could not do this without you. Cheers to everyone who has subscribed and left a review of our show. It makes a huge difference. If you haven't yet, please consider doing so. Head over to brewlosophy.com/support to view a list of ways you can easily help us to continue producing this podcast. If you want a reward for your support, visit patreon.com/brewlosophy. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Brewlosophy podcast. Until then, think beer.
Start off the morning with some hot tea, lemon and honey, cause it suits my bro. Put some herb in the bowl, yeah, it's homegrown. Ain't gotta go through the middleman no more.